Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Time and space transaction. Exchange food for the elf princess at the beginning. Chapter 81. When Clay saw Su Yi's change of expression, he thought it was something serious. But when they heard Su Yi said that he would exchange the island for 5 special water of life that can extend lifespan, everyone was stunned and said quickly, "Mr. Su, you misunderstood. What I mean is that our Ujo Alliance hopes to use all the autonomy of this island, plus 20 billion daula, to acquire your water of life formula. Of course, if you are willing to package and sell the entire Tianyu Medical, we can also add more money. In addition, we can guarantee that all future business activities of you and your Tianyu group in Ujo will not be subject to any restrictions or targeting. Ujo's market will be completely open to you." But Su Yi obviously didn't want to hear what he said. He just chuckled and said, "Why do you think I would sell you the Odavai formula?" Although Clay was a little regretful when he heard this result was actually within his expectation. Anyone who is not a fool would not sell such a good thing casually. And when he came here today, he didn't expect that his bargaining chips would really convince Su Yi to completely hand over the water of life and Tianyu Medical to him. The conditions remain unchanged. We only need the rights to sell Eau de Life in the Western world. What do you think? Su Yi looked at him strangely when he heard this. When did I say that I would sell the water of life to places outside Kyushu? Quote? As soon as these words were said, not only Clay, but also Gago was confused. In their minds, if their company can create such a good thing, it must definitely hold the technology in hand and then sell the product to the world. That's why these medical giants from Western countries confidently come here to ask for cooperation. If you can buy technology, it is naturally good. If you can buy the entire Tianyu Medical in one package, it will be even better. It doesn't matter if you can't even buy it. As long as they get the authority to sell the water of life in their respective regions, it will be enough to make their mouths watery. At the same time, letting the news out can also stabilize the company's stock and allow shareholders to escape calmly. In this matter, they had never worried that Su Yi would refuse, but they were still unsure about what price they would have to pay to get the authority to act as an agent. The reason is also very simple. It is almost needless to say that multinational giant companies like them have influence in their respective regions. They are all top-notch local snakes. No matter how good the water of life was, in their opinion, it was impossible for Su Yi to leave them and go it alone. Otherwise, by joining forces with local officials and adding their own influence, they could make it difficult for the water of life to travel outside Kyushu in minutes. But what did they hear now? Su Yi has no idea of selling the water of life outside Kyushu. Not bro. What kind of trouble is this? Mr. Su, this joke is not funny. Clay said solemnly. I'm not joking. Su Yi said seriously. Originally, this should be discussed tomorrow. Since you are all here in the middle of the night, it doesn't matter if I tell you in advance. Tianyu Medical's water of life will not be sold outside Kyushu. Of course, with your methods, even if the basic version of the water of life is only sold in Kyushu, I know that you will definitely be able to get it, at least there will be no shortage of it. But this kind of water of life can only cure diseases and cannot prolong life. As for the water of life that can truly prolong life, I can tell you clearly that the destination of each one is under my control. Without my nodding, no one can't get it. 5 bottles of water of life that can extend your life. In addition, I can give each of you 1 bottle in a private name. As for the money, I won't accept it. Just give it to me. It's up to you whether you agree or not. Of course, I don't need you to answer now. Give me an accurate answer tomorrow at the latest. I won't wait until the deadline. As he said that, Su Yi looked at his watch. It's almost time. You haven't wasted my time. Forget about disturbing me. Please go back. It wasn't until they walked out of the villa and got into a special car that Clay and Gago, who had been silent, looked at each other. Mr. Clay, what do you think? As a high-ranking official in the West and a very mature politician, Clay has gradually come to his senses. He couldn't help but sigh. This Su Yi is much smarter and greedier than we thought. He has no hope of using the water of life to gain much wealth, and he doesn't even have the idea of expanding the market. Instead, he intends to completely monopolize people's lifespan of high-end water of life and regard it as a political bargaining chip that no one can refuse. If you want to get high-end water of life in the future, I'm afraid it won't be a matter of money. Josh naturally guessed Su Yi's purpose, and after hearing this, he also echoed. Obviously, this is more beneficial to him. As for the basic version of the water of life, he must know that even if he wants to sell it outside Kyushu now, it will be difficult, and he must distribute the benefits to others, so he simply doesn't sell it. He is not only greedy, but also very petty, which completely goes against the spirit of win-win cooperation in business. Moreover, he does not give any way of survival to the original interest group and drives the original interest group to a dead end. This is absolutely a very stupid behavior. So, Clay shrugged. If I had such a good thing in my hands, I would be more arrogant than him. What's more, this is Kyushu. If he dares to be so arrogant, there is definitely the official support of Kyushu. What can the medical companies around the world outside Kyushu that he has driven to a dead end be angry no matter how angry they are? This is no longer the case of a few ships 100 years ago. It's time for the battleship to come over and solve the problem. As a medical giant in Ujo, it is natural that Gago, the victim, will complain. But after he finished complaining, he accepted the reality very quickly and hurried down the slope to the donkey trail. So Mr. Clay, what do you think we should do now? To be honest, those 2 pieces of water of life that can extend life. Clay looked at him and said expressionlessly, I think the plan proposed by Mr. Su is very good. As he intends to completely monopolize high-end water of life, these 5 water of life are definitely not measurable today. I will contact the Speaker of the Alliance later to report to him. I believe that the Speaker will definitely not refuse this matter. He definitely has one of the 5 water of life. He would be a ghost if he refused. Gago complained in his heart, and then said, I will lobby the congressman who I support to help this deal be reached as soon as possible. I hope Mr. Clay and the ancient family behind you can also play a role in it. With Su Yi's attitude, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to get this level of water of life in the future. The 2 looked at each other and smiled, saying nothing. Compared to being able to extend your life on your own. Whether it is the interests of the Ujo Alliance, or the interests of the family or the company, they all seem so unworthy of mention. Clay and Gago have received the benefits promised by Su Yi, and their goals will naturally change. Moreover, their Ujo alliance is no better than before. It has been weakened for many years and is even more fragmented internally. The strength is almost meaningless. After Su Yi sternly rejected their various cooperation proposals, even if they were not given any benefits, they would never dare to make any small moves on Kyushu's territory. Their ancestors had been prosperous, so they naturally knew that Kyushu was currently in an unstoppable rise. It's best not to do too many extraordinary things at this time, otherwise the consequences may not be something their Ujo alliance can bear. However, the Ujo alliance is not strong enough and has the self-awareness not to act recklessly. But there is no shortage of people in this world who have strength and confidence, let alone those who lack self-awareness. So the night was not peaceful. Clay is not the only one who wants to recruit people outside the market before the meeting. Naturally, there are also people from other multinational companies in other countries. But their approach is rather extreme. Of course I wouldn't wait at Su Yi's door in the middle of the night in the rain. In fact, it's not that they couldn't find Su Yi's family, but they had already received news that Tianyu Group had reached an agreement with a well-known security company in Kyushu and hired more than 1,000 special forces soldiers to retire at one time. They could legally professional security personnel holding weapons. According to their intelligence, about half of these people were sent to protect the executives of Tianyu Group, and the remaining more than 500 people were missing. After all, this is Kyushu, and the information network of these forces abroad is not that easy to use here, especially when the Kyushu official intends to cover it up. Not only do they not get much useful information, but they also get some misleading and false information. For example, Su Yi placed hundreds of security personnel around him to protect his own safety. The security forces around his parents in his hometown were very limited. This news made all the forces with evil intentions feel proud. Then they rushed to Su Yi's hometown, a small mountain village located in the southernmost part of Chu province. According to the villagers' recollections afterwards, the thunder that night was particularly loud and dense, especially on the way into the mountain. The thunder did not stop all night. The next morning, some villagers passed by the mountain road and saw an official. The rescue team has blocked the mountain road in and out and is salvaging the car that fell into the roadside reservoir. It was said that a small-scale landslide occurred on the mountain road last night, and a car was struck by lightning, lost control, fell off a cliff, and fell into the water. There were more than one, and those cars were either Land Rovers or Mercedes-Benz. People in the village said that these people were struck by lightning here in the middle of the night, and they must have done something wrong and been punished by God. Early the next morning, Su Yi received a call from her parents before she woke up. Xiao Yi, let me tell you, this flag-raising ceremony is so meaningful, but there are a lot of people and it's hard to queue up. You don't know, your dad shed tears when he saw it. You must do it next time. Get up and take a look. Why, I was a soldier back then, what's the matter with some tears? Xiao Yi, don't listen to your mother's nonsense. What does she know? You are busy with your business and don't worry about us. Quote. Listening to the old couple bickering, Su Yi didn't feel impatient at all, and waited until they finished speaking before saying, anyway, you can have fun in the imperial capital with peace of mind. I'll have someone pick you up in 2 days. There's no need to go to all this trouble. It's not like your dad and I don't know how to read. How can we not take a car home by ourselves? By the way, there are those boys and girls, why do you let them follow us every day? Isn't this a waste of people's time? What a waste of time. They are bodyguards, I pay them wages. This is their job. If you drive them away, they will have no jobs. Su Yi joked. We two old people are not celebrities. We don't need bodyguards when we travel. You don't waste the money you have made like this. You should marry a wife as soon as possible. Facing her mother's nagging, Su Yi just listened quietly and had no intention of refuting. Just ask, yes, the main thing is that it goes in the left ear and out the right ear. If you hear a sentence, I lose. By the time I was packed up and ready to go out, it was almost the time I had agreed to meet with those people. The location is Tianyu Group's temporary headquarters in Zhongcheng. An office building that was temporarily purchased. It's not in a prosperous area of Zhongcheng, it doesn't cost much, and it's not far from Su Yi's residence. He took Yu Ling with him and quickly arrived at his destination. His schedule was quite full today. After taking care of all these annoying things in the morning, he had to go out for a meal with Yang Yi in the afternoon. It is said that school is about to start for her, and all her roommates in the same dormitory have come to Zhongcheng and plan to have a dinner together. Considering that everyone had their boyfriends with them, she cautiously asked Su Yi if she could accompany her. Do you still need to ask? You can pack it. Aren't class reunions and the like just a place to show off? He's very familiar with this. As for nonsense like what the pattern is. Now that you are rich, you don't have to show off, but you still keep a low profile and pretend to be a grandson every day. What are you trying to do? So Su Yi agreed without thinking. As the big boss of the company, he definitely doesn't need to prepare for things like welcoming guests. When he and Yu Ling arrived at the conference room prepared in advance, everyone else was already there and waiting for him. There wasn't much greeting, and Su Yi didn't even bother to say hello. After walking through the door and looking around, his eyes fell on a few Kyushu people. There is a sign in front of everyone with their respective origins written on it. Those targeted by Su Yi were all representatives from JoJo companies and officials. Obviously, they are the people that Old Man Lin said were sent by the authorities to stir up trouble. Guys, I have something to discuss with these foreign friends. Can you please go to the lounge nearby to rest temporarily? Quote. As soon as these words came out, everyone here was confused. Everyone has been sitting here for a while, and they have all guessed what Su Yi will say first when he comes in. Some people think that he will say hello politely and then discuss cooperation or mergers and acquisitions with them. Some people think that based on Su Yi's previous personality and what happened last night, he will definitely get angry as soon as he enters the door, refuse to cooperate or even drive people away directly. Some people think that although last night's incident failed, Su Yi was given a warning. If he was flattering, he would definitely give in now. Anyway, guess what? But they never expected that the first thing Su Yi said when he entered was to ask people from JoJo to go out first. Brother, aren't you in the same group? If you come up and let your teammates go first, this will make us panic. Not to mention the representatives and executives of these foreign companies, even the representatives of JoJo's pharmaceutical industry who came with JoJo's official mission were stunned for a while. There was some difficulty for a while. It didn't even mention this. Can you leave or not? The group of people looked at each other in confusion, and finally, under the instruction of an official from the Kyushu Health Department, all the corporate representatives sent by Kyushu officials left the scene. Of course, this does not mean that all Kyushu people have left. Some private companies are obviously not willing to leave like this. They are not officially sent to stir up trouble for Suyi. Why should they listen to Suyi? In addition, many of the representatives sent by foreign companies present were also from Kyushu. Suyi waited for a while, and when he saw that no one continued to leave, he nodded immediately. It seems there are no innocent people here. Quote. Most of the people here, no matter what country they come from, can basically understand Kyushu dialect, and they couldn't help but be stunned when they heard the words. After reacting, a man with a sign in front of him that read, Yi Yunyuan, president of Zhuangsheng Group Greater China, stood up and frowned. What does Mr. Su mean? Literal meaning. Suyi shrugged, not bothering to pay attention to him at all, and turned to the air and said, were all these people searched before coming in? The next moment, a holographic projection slowly appeared in front of him, and the small ball in the projection was Tianshu. Yes sir, they need to go through 7 inspections before coming in. I also checked through electronic signals. They don't carry any electronic equipment on them, let alone external communication tools. Very good, you did a good job. Suyi acknowledged its work, then pointed at the projected ball, smiled and said to these confused people. Do you guys know what this is? These people obviously didn't know, and Suyi didn't expect them to give any answers, so he gave the answer directly. This is the centerpiece of our Tianyu group, the Tianshu supercomputer. Its computing speed can reach 8 poles per second, and any firewall in the world is useless in front of it. Hearing this, these representatives whispered among themselves. Those who can sit in this position are obviously not illiterate. Even if they are not professional in computers, they all understand some basic principles. After a simple calculation, they quickly figured out what the unit, G, represented. The first reaction was of course disbelief. The second reaction was almost all of joy. They didn't care at all whether this Tianshu computer was real or fake. What they cared about was Suyi's attitude. Suyi suddenly came up to paint a pie for them and boasted about Tianyu Group's technology. This was obviously an attempt to raise the price. Raising the price means that he seems to really want to sell Tianyu Group. For these people, money is not important at all, it is just a piece of waste paper. Whether you can buy the formula of the water of life, or the entire Tianyu Group, is the most important thing. Isn't it just raising the price? No matter how much you raise, even if you frown, I will lose. Who among you is not wealthy in the medical industry? Suyi also noticed that these people seemed to have misunderstood something, but he ignored it and instead introduced the various parameters of Tianshu to himself. At the end of his speech, he suddenly changed the subject and said, everyone, do you know what significance Tianshu computer has to the world? I know, this is simply the most powerful computer in history. Our company is very interested in it, and it is also very interested in Tianyu Group. If Mr. Su has the idea of transferring the company or transferring the equity, why not make an offer? The outspoken person asked. You seem to have misunderstood something. Suyi suddenly smiled and said, Tianshu, show them the information you collected. The next moment, the holographic projection in front of him immediately dissipated, and a holographic projection screen appeared in front of each representative. As soon as they saw the picture in the projection, the representatives from various countries were stunned, and then they felt a chill going straight to Tianlinggai. This is Yi Yunyuan, the representative of Zhuangsheng Group, looked at the content in the projection with trembling eyes. He couldn't speak clearly for a while. After a while, he said, where did you find these? Of course it's in the top secret information storage files at your Zhuangsheng Group headquarters. Suyi shrugged. I have long said that any firewall is useless to Tianshu. These people think that what they are doing is top secret, and even if they fail, they and the group behind them will not be implicated. But he knew nothing about Tianshu's abilities. They thought that Tianshu only needed to conduct a simple investigation on things that were so seamless, and he would soon be able to find out. Do you have anything to say? Or do you have anything else to argue with? Su Yi said lightly. I don't have anything to say to you. Give me your phone back. I want to contact my lawyer. Yi Yunyuan quickly regained his composure and said coldly. Even if it was revealed that he was one of the masterminds behind the attempted murder and kidnapping of others last night, he would not be afraid at all. There was a professional team of lawyers defending him, and a scapegoat had been found long beforehand. Su Yi couldn't do anything to him based on the confidential information and evidence he found from nowhere. As for Tianshu mentioned by Su Yi, he simply did not believe that there were such powerful artificial intelligence and computers in the world, and would rather believe that someone from within had leaked the information. As he spoke, he had already made up his mind to carefully examine everyone within the company who knew about this matter when he returned. Don't worry, Su Yi waved his hand. I still have something good to show you. Yu Ling, show them your skills. Yes, Yu Ling nodded and pointed at Yi Yunyuan, who stood up. Sit down. Yi Yunyuan, who wanted to leave, suddenly felt that he had lost control of his body, and his eyes widened. While sitting down involuntarily, he said in horror. What are you doing? What have you done to me? What kind of magic is this? Although others were not under such direct control, they already realized something was wrong when they subconsciously wanted to stand up but found that their bodies were not under their control at all. The whole conference room was in an uproar for a while. What's more, after seeing Su Yi's attitude and what he told them, they vaguely guessed something, and they shouted in horror, trying to spread their voices. However, all struggles are in vain. Following Yu Ling's faint word, quiet, the representatives present who could speak verbally a second ago now had no hope of even speaking, and could only open their eyes and look around in horror. To be honest, although I have guessed what you want to do in advance and made preparations for it. But if you didn't do anything last night, I will definitely not touch you now. At most, I will just come and let you go. Just get out of here and that's it. Su Yi said helplessly. But there is no way. This person is sometimes ignorant and fearless, and likes to rashly explore areas that are completely unfamiliar to him. There is a price to pay for exploration. Su Yi didn't believe that they knew nothing about the Zheng family and the Dao family in the Demon City. Zhouzhou officials could guess that this matter was definitely related to Su Yi. It was impossible for them not to guess. It's just that they are more stubborn. In other words, he was dazzled by the huge benefits. After all, the ancestors of those behind them were all from the island, and robbery has been engraved in their genes. Robbery is definitely risky. Without giving them a chance to speak, Su Yi continued. You dare to attack my family. Do you think it's over if those people died yesterday? Of course, I also know that you people are just pawns. There are other people behind the real planning of these things, but don't worry, they will soon feel the same as you. Don't be afraid, I won't kill you. After all, I am a law-abiding citizen, and killing someone is definitely against the law. The Moon Listening Club is a kind of magic. After using it, you will lose the ability to express. Expression includes but is not limited to using words, language, gestures and other methods to establish communication with others. In addition, she will also cast a kind of magic on you so that your body will gradually age, but your spirit will remain strong. So that you can clearly perceive how quickly you grow old and die, and at the same time, you cannot disclose in any form what you saw and heard today. Plus you didn't bring any recording equipment. You see, this is a perfect plan, right? Su Yi couldn't help but smile as he spoke, seeming to be very satisfied with the plan. Yu Ling's eyes flashed, and a staff suddenly appeared in her hand. The next moment, these people immediately felt that something invisible and intangible, but real, had entered their bodies. Their bodies instinctively reject this kind of thing, but they are helpless and have no power to resist. The panic in their eyes became more and more intense, but they were unable to express any opinions. Now, in order for you to walk out of here with your hands and feet intact, and to avoid me taking the blame, your memories of this place will be temporarily sealed for 3 to 5 days. After 3 or 5 days, you will gradually remember what happened here, but you have lost the ability to express it. As for now, you are very healthy. The meeting is dismissed. Su Yi waved his hand, opened the door and walked out. Yu Ling took the staff back into his storage space and left. It wasn't until a few minutes after the two left that a group of business representatives who had been almost collapsed by the magic woke up from a dream and looked at the surrounding environment in confusion. Wait a minute, what happened just now? Is that Su Yi here? I remember he came and seemed to say something else. Why was I distracted? It's bad, the acquisition case that the chairman asked me to discuss with Su Yi in detail hasn't been given to him yet. Where's Su Yiren? Quote. Everyone, the chairman said the meeting is over. His meaning is very clear. You can go back. The door of the conference room opened, and a staff member from Tianyu Group pushed the door open and said politely. He had no idea what was going on inside. Su Yi asked him to pass on a message, so he came naturally. Where is your chairman? I am the representative of Zhuangsheng Group. He should know what our group represents in the medical industry. I would like to meet him again to discuss it in detail. I am the CEO of the Greater Zhouzhou District of Wangrui Group. I have something very important to discuss with you, Director Su, in detail. Please be sure to convey it. I will wait for him here. Surrounded by a group of big guys, this little employee was a little frightened for a while, but remembering what Su Yi had just said, he still said bravely. Everyone, Director Su asked me to see off guests. If you don't want to leave, I will ask security guards to come over. Quote. Su Yi didn't want to talk too much nonsense to these dead bones in the grave. He told them this before, just to make them understand. In the last period of your life, you should repent for what you have done, or just feel what despair is. After the meeting, he left the company. After getting in the car, Yu Ling asked. What about the others? Do the masterminds behind these people need to be found out one by one and dealt with? No rush. Su Yi shook his head. These people are all over the world. It would be a waste of time for you to find them one by one. Later I will find some strong men from your world to come over and deal with them one by one. Just think of it as giving them a few more days to live. Quote. Yu Ling's evil magic that can kill a whole family with just one drop of blood is really awesome. But after all, a drop of blood is needed. And it doesn't mean that any drop of blood will do, it must be blood extracted by her magical means. This time she provoked a lot of enemies at once, and it would be a waste of time for her to go up and kill them one by one. Anyway, there are a lot of fierce people in the wizarding world. Especially the star prayer that Wei Wei had found for him. After holding these powerful forces in their hands, none of these people can even think of running away. He has this kind of supernatural power, and now he is very restrained in not killing innocent people indiscriminately. If others want to mess with him, then don't blame him for not eating beef. Anyway, he couldn't see how people died. How many people were killed was just a number to him. There will be no psychological burden at all. It really made him anxious, and he didn't mind giving the people of this world a little supernatural shock. We are already in contact with Jojo, right? Is there any news coming back? On the far side of the ocean, in a luxurious manner. The two big men, who stomped their feet and made the entire Bald Eagle Empire tremble, were leisurely enjoying the cool evening breeze in the manor. There has been news that it was directly rejected by Su Yi. The other party didn't even give our representative a chance to speak. Haha, that's to be expected. Kyushu people have always been like this, smelly and tough, and don't know how to praise. What's next? With the emergence of this kind of drug, the future of the medical industry will definitely be difficult. Let the Black Palace announce sanctions on Tianyu Group first, and by the way, tighten other sanctions originally imposed on Kyushu, especially in high-end manufacturing fields such as chips. They can't break through this for the time being, it should make them uncomfortable for a while. Remember to guide public opinion, and then we have to take the opportunity to get out of the medical industry. Su Yi didn't care about the turmoil brewing in invisible places. The truth is still the same, when he has the ability to easily kill anyone in the world, he doesn't need to have any fear. Because no matter what organizational power it is people who ultimately have to make decisions. Physical destruction has always been the easiest way to eliminate your opponent. After solving a little troublesome matter, he went home directly to pick up Yang Yi. She had dinner with her roommates at noon, and it was almost here. As for Yu Ling, Yang Yi originally wanted her to go with him. Of course Su Yi had no objection. However, Yu Ling, as a professional wingman, did not want to interfere with the two people's hard-won opportunity to be alone and cultivate their relationship, so she did not follow them. As for Su Yi's safety, she left a protective circle on Su Yi, which would be activated when in danger. At the same time, she would get the news and rush over as soon as possible. According to Yu Ling's estimate, even if this thing was directly fired with a 155mm howitzer, it would still take more than a dozen rounds to blast it away. As for individual weapons such as firearms, it is impossible to break this circle even if the barrel of the gun is scrapped. This is Kyushu, and it is impossible for anyone except the official to have the firepower to break the magic circle. It was impossible for the officials to touch Su Yi. Not to mention that he was going to a downtown area. Which country would use heavy firepower to attack the downtown area of its own city during non-war times? So there is basically no need to worry about safety. And Su Yi himself is not a weakling now. Although he has little patience to learn magic, these days he relies on eating various magic foods and drinking water of life. According to Yu Ling's estimation, his current strength is already better than many warriors in the magic world. Be stronger. If you are willing to study hard and practice martial arts, it is not difficult to become a real knight. With his brute strength, even a dozen or so people wouldn't be able to get close to him. I dressed up so beautifully today. I thought you were going on a blind date. In the garage, Su Yi saw the well-dressed Yang Yi and couldn't help but joke. The little girl was eating and drinking at his place these days, and she really ate a lot of good things from the magical world. At a beautiful age filled with youth, nourished by these good things, now that I stand there, my beauty seems to be shining. Don't you even look in the mirror. If you don't dress up nicely, how can I dare to go out alone with you? Yang Yi sat in the passenger seat and complained. Every time I go out with you and Sister Yu Ling, I feel like a little maid carrying a bag. Has anyone told you that your aura is very scary when you are outside? It's that kind of noble feeling. Is there any? Su Yi raised his eyebrows. He really didn't pay much attention to this aspect. However, the influence between the two people is mutual. Yu Ling has a noble status in another world and has her own aura. If Su Yi stays with her for a long time, his words and deeds will naturally be affected subconsciously. It is normal for the aura to become stronger over time. Of course, so in order to prevent people from mistaking me for your maid when I go out with you alone, I have been dressing up carefully all morning. Pretty. Yang Yi puffed up her mouth and reached out to poke her little face. Not bad. Su Yi gave Xiao a fair evaluation. Compared with Yu Ling, it is indeed not bad. But if you put her outside, she would be a top beauty who has surpassed countless internet celebrities. You are the type who has eaten too much chaff and needs treatment. Sister Yu Ling is so beautiful, where can you find another one in the world? Su Yi thought of the star prayer who might be sent by Wei Wei in the near future. Hard to say. ... I've been chatting with you to death. Yang Yi said angrily. Su Yi also changed the topic. Speaking of which, if you ask me to pretend to be your boyfriend, how do you pretend to be your boyfriend? What if you need some intimate interaction? Just interact, I don't mind. Do you mind? Why don't you demonstrate it now? Yang Yi put her hand on Su Yi's right hand. After Yu Ling's long-term brainwashing, she is now able to let go much more than when they first met. And he also knew that Yu Ling didn't mind that he was having an affair with Su Yi, and had even been actively pushing it, so there was no psychological pressure at the moment. That's easy if you don't mind. Su Yi squeezed her leg. Isn't it cool to wear so little? Brother, you can touch it if you want. It's 40 degrees outside. Yang Yi rolled her eyes at him. Oh, I forgot. ... The average cost of the dining venue is about 200 to 300 yuan per person, which is actually not a very cheap restaurant. Yang Yi said that she had no intention of coming to such an expensive place today. But the boyfriend of one of her roommates is said to have some money, and he doesn't like ordinary restaurants and insists on going here, and it's someone else who pays for the dinner, so of course the others have nothing to say. It was lunchtime when the two arrived. Although the place was not cheap, it was still crowded. It was said that the main focus was on local specialties. As soon as he arrived at the door of the box, Su Yi saw a group of young people chatting eagerly. It was not until he saw the two people arriving that he suddenly fell silent. Almost all the boys' eyes were focused on Yang Yi, while the eyes of the girls in the box were all on Su Yi. After being stunned for a while, one of the girls looked at Yang Yi and was stunned again, then quickly stood up and said, Yi, why did you come here? I haven't seen you for a month. I miss you so much. After some pleasantries, Yang Yi introduced Su Yi to others, and then the two of them sat down. As soon as they sat down, the girl couldn't wait to pull Yang Yi and asked, Yi, I haven't seen you for more than a month. Why do I feel that you have become beautiful again? Tell me honestly what skincare products you have been using recently. There are some good products but I don't recommend them to my sisters. Skincare products. Does drinking eau de vie count as a drink? Yang Yi complained in her heart. But it's not like she doesn't use the internet. Naturally she knows how popular the water of life is now. It's okay to pretend to be small at class reunions. She feels guilty for pretending to be so big. I don't use any skincare products. I just go to bed early and get up early and eat and drink at home during the holidays. That's it. The eating and drinking routine was quite reasonable. Su Yi didn't know how she could say such nonsense as going to bed early and getting up early. Who the hell doesn't sleep in the living room watching horror movies at 3 in the morning? But at this time, he definitely can't make trouble and just look at his mobile phone as a tool. However, a boy on the side suddenly took over the conversation and said, Skincare products. Do you know about the water of life that is very popular recently? I heard that it is better than any skincare products. You can beautify your skin by drinking it directly. It's been blown up online, and I can't even buy it now. Is the water of life so good? I see many people on the internet are talking about it. How is the actual effect? Have any of you tried it? One girl asked curiously. Where can I try? Tianyu Medical has only released 300,000 bottles of the basic version of the eau de vie so far. One bottle of 8,888 is sold out in less than a second every time it is released. I don't know the world. There are so many rich people online. A boy complained, then looked at his girlfriend aside. I originally planned to grab one for you, but I really can't. There's nothing I can do about it. The girl looked unhappy and said, I don't care, there will definitely be something for sale later, you have to help me grab it. The beauty blogger I follow tested the water of life live, and the effect was so good. After one bottle, the wrinkles and blemishes on my face disappeared, and even my hair became much smoother, and any yellowing or split ends disappeared. Yes, I must buy it. Su Yi, who had been eating melons since he came in, couldn't help but frown. When he released the basic version of the water of life, his original intention was to make some people experience less pain and suffering. Although the price is not cheap at 8,888, it is completely worth it for many people who have less serious chronic diseases and need to take medicine for a long time. At the same time, the high price is also due to the consideration of setting a certain threshold. In order to prevent all kinds of people from rushing to buy, the people who really need it will not be able to get it. Unexpectedly, he still underestimated some people. It's okay to promote the water of life into skincare products. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but felt it was unnecessary. There are definitely more than one or two people who use eau de vie as skincare products. Any big reason here is a complete waste of saliva. It is better to think about how to improve the sales mechanism of water of life. For example, the quantity released each time is no longer sold publicly on the internet, but is connected with the official hospitals in JoJo to provide some cooperation with the regular hospitals. Water of life. I have it. Let's have a friend. In 2 days, I will give one to each of the beauties present. Just when Su Yi was thinking, the boy who first mentioned the water of life suddenly laughed and said, It seems that such a good thing as the water of life is not worth mentioning here. Su Yi couldn't help but glance at him suspiciously after hearing this. Although the water of life is sold online, identity verification is required, and one person is limited to purchasing one bottle. Coupled with the quick grab, it fundamentally eliminates the possibility of scalpers snatching it and reselling it to make money. So in theory, one person can only buy one bottle at most. Give one to each of the girls present, that's 4. Being able to deliver so much at once meant that he definitely had more water of life in his hands. Where did it come from? Of course, it doesn't rule out that this guy is bragging. After all, he didn't say he would give it now. But if it's the former, then the problem is huge. Get one for each person. Do you really have so much water of life on your hands? I remember that there is a limit on buying this thing. Before Su Yi could ask, someone helped her ask the question. It was the boy who just said that the water of life was hard to snatch and his girlfriend complained about it. There must be a limited number when buying online, but I didn't buy mine online. The boy said proudly. My brother used to be an executive at a pharmaceutical company in Shanghai. Later, the pharmaceutical company was acquired by Tianyu Medical, and he became an executive at Tianyu Medical. Employees within their company are rationed with water of life. Let me tell you a secret again. You must not reveal it to the outside world. The basic version of the water of life is nothing at all, and even the advanced version of the water of life that Tianyu Medical's official website says can treat cancer is nothing. Quote, there is a more powerful version within their company. It is said that 1 bottle can cure any disease, and 3 bottles can even extend your life. Su Yi didn't think there was any problem after hearing the previous words. Tianyu Group's internal employees do have a quota of water of life. If his brother's position in Tianyu Medical is relatively important and the salary is high enough, it is completely reasonable and legal to have a few basic versions of the water of life on hand. If people are willing to keep such good things for their families, the company has nothing to do with them. But the problems he mentioned later were even bigger. The water of life that can extend lifespan has never been intended to be spread on a large scale, and it is impossible to spread it on a large scale. Regarding this matter, every internal staff member of Tianyu Medical is fully aware of the situation and has signed a confidentiality agreement. But now that it was said from such a person, the matter was not that simple. What's your brother's name? Su Yi asked directly. The boy who was bragging so enthusiastically was stunned and looked at Su Yi in surprise. Brother, who my brother is should have nothing to do with you, right? He is not stupid, or his brother should have told him not to spread these secrets to others when he told him these things. Is it okay? The relationship is not small. If you don't want to say it, forget it. Su Yi didn't bother to talk to him, just picked up the phone and said. Tianshu, you should have seen it too, please deal with it. Okay, sir. Looking at the text that appeared on the screen, Su Yi put down the phone and stopped paying attention. The boy was obviously a little confused. Seeing that Su Yi didn't ask any more questions, he continued to brag without thinking much about it. The food soon began to be served in the private room. I have to say that even with Su Yi's picky taste, the food in this restaurant does have merit. It's just that the ingredients are still a little less interesting, and they can't compare to those magic foods. He put down his chopsticks after tasting it and had no intention of continuing to eat. The same goes for Yang Yi. Living at Su Yi's house these days, her appetite has been developed and she can't stomach these ordinary dishes. Others enjoyed their meal quite happily. They all praised the friend who was hosting the guests for his discernment. Only then did Su Yi know that the person who was treating the guests happened to be the guy who was bragging about it just now, named Li Wu. The atmosphere in the private room has always been harmonious, but I haven't seen any plots like those in novels where classmates get slapped in the face. If nothing else, this should be a pretty good dining experience. But things are often like this. If there is no accident, there will definitely be an accident. Halfway through eating, Li Wu's cell phone suddenly rang. He stretched out his hand to signal others to be quiet, then picked up the phone and chose to answer. Hey, Mom, what's wrong? I'm eating with my classmates here. What? My brother was arrested. Why was he arrested? Revealed a secret. It wasn't me. I was having dinner with my friends. What secrets could I reveal? Ask Dad. He drinks too much every day and likes to brag to those business friends. He must have leaked it. My brother said that I was talking nonsense outside and the chairman of Tianyu Group heard it. How is that possible? How do I know the chairman of Tianyu Group? Li Wu was confused when he received the call. Su Yi also received the latest news from Tianshu. Sir, the matter has been clarified. Li Cheng, the director of the marketing management department of Tianyu Medical Company, has a younger brother named Li Wu. After our people approached Li Cheng also confessed that he disclosed company secrets to his family. In addition, I also found that Li Cheng used his position to illegally obtain hundreds of bottles of water of life in a short period of time, a small part of which he gave to his family, and most of which flowed from his hands to second-hand market, Li Cheng also made millions of profits in a short period of time. The way he obtains the water of life is to take advantage of his position to purchase the water of life benefits distributed by the company to other employees. If he encounters those who refuse to sell, he will also use coercion and inducement, which is very vile in nature. I have reported it to the authorities and Miles has been arrested. And you still need to decide how to deal with the people in his family who know these secrets. What do you think should be done? Su Yi asked. According to legal provisions, everyone with knowledge of the matter should be asked to sign a confidentiality agreement. As long as they do not disclose the matter later, the matter will be considered over. If they are unwilling to sign, they can use other legal procedures to resolve it. Whether this matter is big or small, I suggest that you don't interfere and leave it to the company's legal department to resolve it. Obviously, as an intelligent AI, Tianshu prefers to work within the framework of rules. I don't really want Su Yi to directly kill people and silence them. However, this matter could only be regarded as a trivial matter to Su Yi, and it was not like killing the whole family. After giving Tianshu an order to handle, he stopped managing. In the private room, Li Wu, who just a second ago was boasting about how effective the water of life was and how much water of life he had drank, was already confused after answering the phone. His face was pale and he was sweating profusely. He spoke very loudly just now, and other people in the box naturally heard it. After something like this happened, no one could still eat. No one cares about what will happen to Li Wu's brother, everyone is more concerned about themselves. When Li Wu was bragging just now, he also said that this was some big secret and asked others not to spread it. Now Li Wu's brother who spread the news has been arrested. This is really scary. Knowing that they might have listened to something they shouldn't have heard, everyone in the box looked unhappy. You told us those things your brother said again. Nothing will happen, right? Li Wu's girlfriend asked cautiously. However, Li Wu shook his head with a pale face. It's over. Don't take any chances. Tianyu Medical has filed a lawsuit against my brother. People from the police station in Zhongcheng are probably looking for me, and they will find me here soon. As he said this, he seemed a little confused. Chairman of Tianyu Group, I haven't mentioned these things to anyone other than you in the past few days. How can there be any chairman of Tianyu Group? Having said this, he suddenly froze for a moment and looked at Su Yi, who was drinking tea calmly not far away. Brother, you asked my brother what his name was just now. What were you trying to do? Su Yi glanced at him lightly and said, I am the chairman of Tianyu Group. Li Wu, thinking of what happened just now, he suspected that Su Yi was also from the Tianyu Group, or had something to do with the Tianyu Group, so he quietly spread what they said, and then spread it to the ears of the chairman of the Tianyu Group. That's when my brother was dealt with. As for Su Yi, he is the big boss behind Tianyu Group. He had never thought about it. After all, Su Yi now looks younger than everyone here, and those who don't know thought he was a junior from somewhere. Who has such a big imagination to think that the boss of Tianyu Group, which has been in the limelight recently and is estimated by some institutions to be worth less than 100 billion if it goes public, is such a young man? The private room fell silent again for a while. Some people couldn't help but want to leave. But when I thought that after hearing the trade secrets of a large company, an inspector might come looking for him soon, I was a little afraid to leave. After all, if you stay, you can still explain things clearly, and explain that you just heard it, there is absolutely no rumor, and it will never be spread in the future. At most, you can sign a non-disclosure agreement and you should be fine. But if he ran away, who could prove that he didn't pass on this secret to anyone else? It will be troublesome to deal with it then. The atmosphere was a little dull for a while. Yang Yi couldn't sit still for a while, so she pulled Su Yi's hand and said, Can we go? If you want to leave, tell me earlier. I thought you had to wait for them. Su Yi smiled, stood up and prepared to leave. Just as he walked to the door, he heard Li Wudao. Can't leave. You have all heard the matter. If you leave here and spread the secret to more people, it will only be more troublesome. My brother just said when he contacted the family that Tianyu Group will never let this matter go. The more it spreads, the situation becomes more serious. It's for your own good that you stay here and wait. Su Yi shrugged, not bothering to pay attention to him at all. His brother Li Cheng is not a good person. He doesn't work hard at work, so he does all these things to make ends meet. This Li Wu may not be a good person. When he starts bragging, he doesn't know what to say. He opens his mouth just to give people the water of life. When she said this, her eyes almost stuck to Yang Yi. Su Yi didn't bother to say more about the purpose. The small head controls the big head and goes out to collect things at home. Not letting others go is not for their own good, it's just to reduce the burden of guilt. Click. As soon as he reached the door, before Su Yi reached out to open the door, someone pushed the door open and came in. The one he found at this time was naturally the inspector. It has to be said that the official speed is indeed very fast. After hearing that Tianyu Group called the police that someone had leaked commercial secrets and obtained relevant information. In less than half an hour, people were arrested in Magic City, and Zhongcheng also came to the door. It can be seen that the current attention to Tianyu Group is high. If you change another company, the official efficiency will definitely not be so fast. The inspector was very polite. After briefly explaining his purpose, he asked everyone present to follow him to the police station. And it was explained that all he had to do was accept a simple investigation and sign a confidentiality agreement. Everyone in the private room breathed a sigh of relief. Su Yi, on the other hand, frowned and said, "I have other things to do here, I'm afraid I don't have time to go there." As soon as these words were said, everyone in the private room was startled. A young agent was about to come over to reason and ask Su Yi to cooperate with their work. But before he could open his mouth, he was stopped by the captain on the side. Then the captain said politely, "Excuse me, are you?" "I'm Su Yi." "Okay, Mr. Su, let's go slowly." The captain immediately moved out of the way and let Su Yi lead Yang Yi out directly. The people in the private room were stunned for a moment. After a while, a boy said angrily, "Why can they just leave and we have to be investigated?" "Because he is the chairman of Tianyu Group." The inspection team leader who understood the whole story said speechlessly, "It's really a genius to reveal other companies' secrets in front of the chairman of the company. What will happen after they are taken to the police station? School will start in 2 days. It won't affect school, right?" After coming out, Yang Yi couldn't help but ask, "No, just go and sign a confidentiality agreement and you can come out. You won't be able to stay for a day." Su Yi said casually, "I think you should be more concerned about what we are going to do in the afternoon." It was originally planned that the group would have other activities after dinner. Since Su Yi is here, he naturally wants to play with Yang Yi. Now that all her classmates have been arrested, they still have to play fair. "How about going to a movie?" Yang Yi suggested, but as soon as she said it, she couldn't help but shake her head. No, there aren't any good movies recently. It would be a waste of time to go there." After thinking about it, she didn't think of anything fun. After all, on such a hot day, there is basically no need to consider outdoor activities. There really isn't much to play indoors. In the end, the two of them didn't do anything deliberately and just spent the afternoon blowing in the wind by the river. Su Yi found it quite interesting watching the boats coming and going on the river and chatting with the little beauty. Today was the day we had arranged to trade with Wei Wei and Beilu, but that was at night, so there was no rush now. Tianshu takes care of the company's affairs, so he, the big boss, doesn't have to worry at all. There's not much to do when I get home. On the contrary, sitting and chatting by the river with Yang Yi gave him an inexplicable feeling of being at peace with his first love. Apart from anything else, Yang Yi's temperament and appearance are in line with most people's definition of first love. It belongs to the pure white moonlight type. However, if there is only one man and one woman, the conversation will naturally become more and more ambiguous. "It's a bit hot here, why don't you find a cool place to take a rest?" Hearing Yang Yi's request with a blushing face, Su Yi tentatively said, "Going to the hotel, ... Everything comes naturally and naturally." In short, on such a calm afternoon, the last layer of window paper was pierced so easily. Yang Yi, who had just experienced life, was not pretentious. After drinking a few sips of the water of life, she was resurrected with full blood. Then he energetically took Su Yi to go shopping for supper. By the time I got home, it was already past 10 o'clock in the evening. Yu Ling was reading quietly at home. When she saw the two people coming back, she looked at Yang Yi and couldn't help but raise her eyebrows, but she was not surprised. This was originally the result of her adding fuel to the flames. You guys chat, I have something to take care of, I'll come back later. Su Yi said hello and went upstairs. It's time to go ahead with today's deal as agreed. As for the problem of getting along between Yu Ling and Yang Yi, he shouldn't have to worry about this. Yu Ling will take care of it. Why is it so late this time? In the trading space, Wei Wei briefly expressed her dissatisfaction as soon as she appeared, and then gave the things she had prepared to Su Yi. Most of them are magic plants and the flesh and blood of monsters, as well as some seeds of magic plants, as well as some magic instruments prepared according to Su Yi's requirements. 5 powerful longbows with magic formations engraved on them. A magic cloak with full defense, and even an ordinary person can fly for a short time with this item. There are also some swords and the like. The magic cloak was requested by Yu Ling, mainly for Su Yi's self-defense. As for those magic weapons, Chen Yi approached Wei Wei to purchase them after trading with White Deer in another world. Beilu would be more interested in this kind of thing. To purchase these items, Su Yi only had to pay for the 20,000 tons of grain left over from the previous transaction. It's best to prepare those powerful weapons that can be used by mortals in your world for me as soon as possible. I'm afraid there will be a big war in Mengchuan City in the near future. After the transaction was completed, Wei Wei said with a solemn expression. With the recent waves of food support from Su Yi, Wei Wei's demand for food in a short period of time is no longer large. The people who originally surrounded Mengchuan City had been besieging but not attacking, waiting for the city to run out of food. Now it is discovered that the food in the city is not only not running out, but more and more. Now even ordinary people in Mengchuan City can eat 2 full meals a day. This made the coalition forces besieging the city unable to sit still. She received reliable news that the coalition forces might plan a large-scale attack on Mengchuan City in the near future. If it can't be stopped, the city will be destroyed in just a few days. If it is blocked, it will probably stop for a while. I'm a little curious. Didn't you say that you are the princess of that Blazing Sun Empire? They have been fighting around your territory for several years, and your empire won't give you any support. Can't count on it. Wei Wei waved her hand and said. Originally, Mengchuan City is located on the border, a place abandoned by the empire's center, but this is my territory, and I don't want to give it up, so I stick to it until now. Garrisoning Mengchuan City is my personal behavior. Naturally, the empire will not send reinforcements. A place abandoned by the empire. Su Yi was a little confused. From what you said before, Mengchuan City is an important border town that can accommodate hundreds of thousands of people and has strong city defenses, right? You don't want a place like this if you don't want it. Could it be that your empire has suffered defeats in other places recently? Or is it completely rotten internally and there are no usable soldiers at all? Of course not. Wei Wei found a random place to sit down and poured a glass of water of life for herself and Su Yi. The situation is more complicated. To give you a brief summary, my father is old and feeble and unable to handle state affairs at all. The power of the center is now in the hands of my brothers. According to the news from the imperial capital, the throne between them, the competition has reached a fever pitch. The smoke of civil war is vaguely ignited throughout the empire, but the scale of the war is still within control and has not completely spread. Now there are at least 1 million troops gathered around the imperial capital. They are all the most elite troops of our Blazing Sun Empire. They obey the orders of the 4 princes. It is foreseeable that once the father dies, an uncontrollable civil war will break out. Quote, in this case, who would send troops to save a small town on the edge? For them, it's just territory. The Blazing Sun Empire is so big, losing a little bit is nothing, but if they lose the throne, they will lose everything. Quote, not to mention that I am considered one of the heirs to the throne and am qualified to participate in the robbery. They want me to die in Mengchuan City, so how can they come to support me? Good guy, the civil war is about to begin before the emperor dies. This is even more exaggerated than the zombies attacking each other regardless of their armor. Su Yi's mouth twitched, not quite understanding what the people from the different world were thinking. But he looked at Wei Wei's unruffled expression and felt that this woman might not be simple either. she might not just be holding on to Mengchuan City to defend her own territory. When the civil war in the Blazing Sun Empire really breaks out, it's not certain who will have the last laugh. Do you want to become the Empress of the Blazing Sun Empire? Su Yi asked suddenly without any warning. Why do you think I am qualified to participate in this kind of thing? Wei Wei raised her eyebrows. As the youngest princess, the territory of Mengchuan City is still barren, and now she is in jail, unable to protect herself. What can I do to fight for the throne? Su Yi looked around. This alone is enough. The initial territory is small, there are few people in the territory, the external environment is bad, and the political capital is insufficient. Are these problems? Of course it counts, and they are all big problems. With so many buffs stacked on one's body, Blue Star's side, regardless of ancient or modern times, is obviously not qualified to participate in the race for the heir. But Wei Wei has one biggest advantage, which is enough to make up for her shortcomings. That is the trading platform. To put it bluntly, she is guilty. I'm afraid whether it's enough depends on how much support you can provide. Wei Wei joked. Just what you showed me before, that thing in your world, Mushroom Egg. Yes, this is it. Send me the exact number, and I will be able to ascend the throne and proclaim myself emperor within a month. When the time comes, I will make you the Duke of the Blazing Sun Empire and give you a territory of hundreds of thousands square kilometers and tens of millions of people. What the hell is the difference between this and I am Qin Shi Huang, Crazy Thursday v I am 50? Su Yi was a little speechless. You can never get this thing now. Stop dreaming and talk about reality. It's just guns and artillery. How many do you think are needed to make you ascend to the throne? He showed these weapons to Wei Wei through some videos. These weapons require too much logistics. If you can ensure that the logistics can keep up, then within a year, I should be able to capture half of the empire. As for the other half, it depends on luck. Wei Wei didn't say too much. Explain. Obviously, as an ancient empire that has been inherited for hundreds of thousands of years, the Blazing Sun Empire itself is not that simple. Even if she is the emperor's biological daughter, just relying on strength is not enough if she wants to ascend to the throne. Su Yi remembered that the island he acquired from the Ujo alliance should be handed over soon. After thinking for a moment, he said, at the latest, within a month, I will be able to supply you with various conventional thermal weapons in large quantities until I support you in fighting the civil war and becoming the Empress of the Blazing Sun Empire. As for what you have to pay, it goes without saying what the title is. I can't even go to your world, so what's the use of this thing? I need you to provide a complete set of theories and knowledge related to magic, how about it? Compared with things that are invisible and intangible, the mature magic system of the entire magic world is obviously more attractive. However, this kind of thing is also a treasure at the bottom of the box for Wei Wei. It is one of the biggest advantages of her world compared to Su Yi's side. It's something like a technical barrier. Su Yi had not even mentioned this request before. Now that the other party needs his help, he just needs his help. After a moment of silence, Wei Wei gave her own answer. Even though the Blazing Sun Empire has existed for so many years, I can't say that the royal family's collection of books covers everything related to magic. What I can promise you is to help me ascend the throne and give you the hundreds of thousands of years of magic and martial arts knowledge inherited from the Blazing Sun Empire royal family. As for anything else, I can't do anything else. Alright, Su Yi didn't choose. In short, just develop a complete magic system and practice method first. One of the reasons why he is too lazy to practice magic is that Yu Ling's elf magic is not very compatible with humans. Even if he wanted to learn it, he would get twice the result with half the effort. Totally worth the loss. The two briefly chatted about the general direction of cooperation in the future, and then talked about another serious matter today. Wei Wei was the first to speak. The star prayer is already waiting. Give me an intermediate life trading authority card, and I will bring her over now. After buying the junior matching card last time, Su Yi only had a few dozen membership points left. However, after the transaction just ended, the trading platform gave him nearly 100 points. The current membership points are more than 140. Purchasing the intermediate life trading authority card requires 100 points, and the remaining points can be used to give her a whole world language pass card to avoid language barriers when she goes to Blue Star. Without saying much, Su Yi bought the trading card and used it. Wei Wei, who had unlocked the permission to trade lives, immediately brought the star prayer that had been prepared long ago into the trading space. Even though he was prepared, the moment he saw the other party, Su Yi was still shocked. Just looking at their looks, she and Yu Ling can only be said to be equally matched. But there is a big difference in temperament. The moon is as gentle as water, and the star prayer feels an indescribable calmness and elegance just by standing there. You must be Mr. Su Yi, right? After looking at each other for a short time, the star prayer took the lead in saluting. Su Yi also cupped his fists and said, "Yes, the first time we met, the famous star prayer really lived up to his reputation and was unparalleled in his magnificence. Thank you. I have read the letter that Princess Yu Ling gave me, and Princess Wei Wei also briefly shared some information about your place." Star Prayer said straight to the point. "I want to confirm again. If I agree to your conditions and take my tribe to your place, will I really be free from any discrimination and oppression?" Discrimination and oppression can be found everywhere, and this is absolutely unavoidable. Su Yi shrugged and said, "What I can guarantee is that after your people go to my place, the reason for being discriminated against and oppressed is not because of their origin or blood, and their status will not be lower than that of the Aboriginal people there. As I said before, if you don't believe it, you can go and see it for yourself. It's not too late to make a decision after reading it." "Okay." Prayer for Stars agreed without hesitation. Even a little impatient, because in Yu Ling's letter to her, that place was described as being no different from the legendary kingdom of God. This is especially true for them, a group that is excluded by mainstream discrimination in the magical world. In that case, let's sign the contract first. Su Yi took out the transaction contract that he had prepared long ago. The terms in the contract are of course different from those signed in the previous month. Yu Ling went to Blue Star and had no plans to go back. And if the Star Prayer finds that Blue Star's side is not consistent with Su Yi's description, he will definitely return to the magical world. He is also the top powerhouse in the magic world, second only to those gods of magic and martial arts. He is not a fool, so he will not sign a transaction contract that is no different from a contract of sale. The contract she signed roughly stated that after she went to Blue Star, she needed to obey all reasonable orders from Su Yi, abide by local rules, and not mess around. But Su Yi couldn't mess with her and force her to do things she didn't want to do. Once either party breaches the contract will be terminated and the Star Prayer will be sent back to the magical world. It can be said that this contract has certain guarantees for both parties. My name is Su Yi, you should know it by now. Now that the contract is signed, we will probably get along for a long time, and I don't know your name yet." Lan Xing, in the bedroom, Su Yi asked as he looked at the goddess-like Star Prayer with long aqua hair and a tall figure who walked out of a scroll in front of him. "Name? No one has asked me this for a long time." The Star Prayer pondered for a moment and said, "My original name was Weedao. If you like it, call it this." Weeds. Su Yi didn't expect that one of the top combat forces in the magical world would have such a casual name. But when I think about her life experience and the situation in the magical world, it seems quite reasonable. After all, this kind of mixed-race child is discriminated against and ostracized in the magical world. Grandma doesn't love what uncle doesn't love. Isn't it just as humble as a weed? Whether Su Yi likes the name or not is secondary. The main thing is that he can clearly see that the Star Prayer definitely doesn't like it. He's not stupid enough to actually call him that if someone tells him to. Looking at her purple robe embroidered with stars, Su Yi suddenly had an idea and said, "The name Weedao is too random. How about I give you a name from our world?" Star Prayer didn't seem to care too much about this kind of thing. He was currently looking at the environment of the bedroom. When he heard this, he just said, "Oh," and signaled that he was casual. Names don't mean much to her anyway. There are really not many people in the magical world who can call him by his first name. After all, everyone has only one life. Who in the whole world doesn't know that Star Prayer hates that humble name that inherently indicates inferiority? Let's call him Xing'an. Xing'an. The Star Prayer had already used the World Language Access card, so he could naturally understand what these two words meant. Then he seemed to be a little interested, and turned to Su Yi. "What's the meaning?" "No." Su Yi shrugged. Looking at the tracks of stars all over your clothes, I'll call you Shingen. Mainly because it sounds nice. Star Prayer nodded, but didn't say much. Then I will be called Shingen in this world. Su Yi felt that this woman was a bit like a girl without emotions, like a robot without emotions. She didn't seem to care much about anything other than whether Blue Star was suitable for those mixed-race people to live in. Why don't you go out and take a look? Seeing her looking around so curiously, Su Yi suggested. Shingen walked to the window and opened the curtains. It's so late, what can I see? This is a suburb, and the villa faces a lake. Open the curtains at this point, and naturally you can see nothing but darkness. It's only around 11 o'clock in the evening, and the nightlife just started. Su Yi greeted. Let's go, let Yu Ling take you out for a walk. I have something to do and need to go to the trading space. I will try to find a way to solve the identity problem for you tomorrow. Good. Shingen still had no expression, as if he was letting Su Yi arrange it. Yu Ling was well prepared for the arrival of the Star Prayer, and as an elf princess and a girl, it was always easier for her to communicate with Shingen than Su Yi. It just so happened that Su Yi still had to go to the trading space to complete today's transaction with Beilu, and now he had no time to chat with Shingen. After arranging for this legendary and powerful man who was famous in the magical world, Su Yi turned around and entered the trading space again. You're finally here, do you know how long I've been waiting? As soon as he entered, Beilu's complaining sound reached his ears. Su Yi quickly apologized and said with a smile, I'm really sorry, some things have been delayed. How do you feel about using the magic food and water of life I gave you last time? HMPH, remember to be punctual next time. Beilu snorted lightly and then said, the effect is indeed good, and according to what you said, different people absorb these things with different efficiency. According to my personal test, it is true. Now even if I don't wear power armor, I should be able to kill you with one punch. It's just late, you don't need to beat me to death. Su Yi's mouth twitched. The other batch of magic food and water of life promised to you have been obtained. What are you going to give in exchange? Her situation is different from that of Wei Wei. Wei Wei has a high status in the magic world and can collect whatever she wants within the specified time. Wei Wei basically knew that it was not enough. Therefore, when Su Yi is trading with Wei Wei, he can make an appointment in advance, and then directly make the transaction when the time comes to get the agreed-upon transaction items. But Beilu's status in their world was obviously not high. Su Yi basically had to grab the good things she wanted, and of course there was no way to make a reservation. What she can offer for trade depends on what she has grabbed recently. A few days ago, I robbed someone of the brain of a giant company across the galaxy. Recently, the arrests have been strict around the Jade Star. This kind of thing is not easy to do. Bailu scratched his head in embarrassment. However, the armaments issued by the Federation to our brigade have arrived. I can give you 10 sets of Hail-class power armor standard for the Federation's low Earth orbit troops, as well as 3 Knight-class landing craft. I don't know if you are interested. Arms. Su Yi was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes lit up. The military is well prepared. He quickly asked. What about power armor? What about landing craft? The Hailstone-class power armor is actually not a good thing on our side. Its main purpose is to drop the Vanguard Orbital Airborne Brigade from low Earth orbit to the surface when dealing with enemies on other planets. It's barely good for the same level of powered armor, and the armor's defense is not bad. The built-in energy shield is not above or below the same level. The advantage is that the technology is mature, the leather is durable, and it can maintain combat effectiveness for a long time even in extremely harsh conditions where external supplies are cut off, and the self-sustainability is extremely strong. In short, it is a very mediocre piece of equipment, but it is cheap and cost-effective. The standard weapon is an electromagnetic rifle with 500 rounds of ammunition. The power source is a third-generation micro-fusion furnace. The output power of this thing is not bad. It is the most valuable thing in the entire set of power armor. It is also equipped with junior military intelligent AI assistance. It doesn't make much difference whether it has this thing or not. The landing craft, with a full load of 1,000 tons, can reach speeds exceeding the third universe at the fastest. It is usually used for landing when we need to send out our airborne brigade to fight for ground control after the starship has completed its attack on the ground. If you lack ground, the ability to transport it to space is a good thing. It's the same as the Hailstone-class power armor. It has mature technology and is durable. Except for the core components, it can be easily repaired if it breaks. Quote. Chapter 91. When Bai Lu talked about these data, he showed his professionalism as an officer from another world. When the little mouth opens, it won't stop. Su Yi's eyes widened when he heard each parameter. What the hell, these things can't directly dominate the starry sky when they go to Blue Star. It's awesome. But seeing Bai Lu getting more and more excited, Chen Yi couldn't help but think of another question, and said with a little worry. This is something your Federation issued to your army. Is it really okay for you to just give it to me like this? What are you talking about? Bai Lu said without caring. Those terraformers from the Interstellar Federation are very wealthy, so why would they care about a few power armors and a few landing crafts here? What's more, banditry has been rampant on the Sapphire Star recently. As the Low Earth Orbit Airborne Brigade under my command is an important force in maintaining the security of the Sapphire Star, it is normal to lose some equipment, right? I directly killed those who were loyal to the Federation in the army and reported their losses in battle, and I also received their pensions. A few pieces of equipment are nothing. God, banditry is rampant, aren't you the bandit yourself? As for the people who were loyal to the Federation in the killing army, they still received their pensions after killing them. This was quite explosive even when the ancient warlords in Kyushu were fighting. No wonder Su Yi always felt that there was something gangster about this woman. The co-author is a real bandit. But it seems right when you think about it. He is a rebel with a lot of power in the Interstellar Federation. No matter what you do, it will damage the image of the Interstellar Federation. I do the bad things, enjoy the good things, and leave the blame to my opponent. If Su Yi had gone alone, he would probably have done the same thing as her. This guy is up to no good. Your Interstellar Federation is so technologically advanced, is it possible that it can't control you at all? The Luli Galaxy where our Sapphire Star is located is the border of the Interstellar Federation. It is originally a no-nonsense zone and only belongs to the Interstellar Federation in name. You may not believe it, but on the Sapphire Star, our Orbital Airborne Brigade is already considered a die-hard member of the Interstellar Federation. Directly related, I also often help the Interstellar Federation clear shipping lanes, protect resource planets, and quell some rebellions. Bai Lu sneered. Other forces here are even more aggressive than us. The new Jade Star governor sent by the Federation a few months ago, his entire team was killed on the second day after he took office. His body is still hanging at the door of the governor's mansion. I am too lazy to collect his body. Quote. The Federation only cares about whether the Luli Galaxy can turn over resources regularly. Those reformers only think about relying on machinery to live forever, and how can they care about the security here? In Night City, everyone is evil, right? Su Yi didn't know what to say other than saying that he had gained more knowledge. Who would have thought that a civilization that could easily conduct interstellar navigation would be in such chaos? It's simply a ruin of etiquette and joy. After discussing the items to be traded, Bai Lu's efficiency was as fast as ever. He went directly to the warehouse and delivered the things Su Yi wanted to him. It was not even unpacked when it was delivered. Even the instructions are still in the power armor and landing craft. All are 100% new, never opened. As for the question of what equipment Bai Lu's own men use after trading these equipments, Su Yi is too lazy to ask now. People are greedy even for pensions. Isn't it normal to take advantage of them? It is estimated that these equipments are extra. After the transaction was completed, when the two were discussing the items for the next transaction, Su Yi couldn't help but ask. This landing craft looks a bit small. Do you think you can give me a few of your starships that can carry out interstellar navigation? They can be used for civilian or military purposes. I've tried it, but it's not easy. Bai Lu burst into tears as soon as he opened his mouth. Before I came here today, I originally planned to build a starship to trade these things, but I found that if there are people in the starship, there is no way to put it into the space provided by the trading platform. And there are almost always people inside any starship at all times, even if it is being repaired. If you want to build a starship, you have to clear out the people inside first, but the starship is too big and has many internal identification systems. And now almost all starships have alien plane contact systems. It is easy to stay in it for a long time. Once the true identity of me and those under me is discovered, it is impossible to block the contact system and prevent the message from being sent out. Quote. So if I don't correct it, my identity will be exposed easily. When the news reaches the Federal Center, my position as the Supreme Commander of the Orbital Airborne Brigade will be over. She actually tried it, which Suyi never expected. But it's normal to think about it. Anyway, the things she traded were either stolen or greedy. I don't feel bad for selling my field. It is certainly worth it to her in exchange for something Suyi can help her become stronger. And it is not difficult for Suyi to see from these two transactions with her that there are definitely many powerful high technologies in their world. Her daring to do this is definitely not short-sighted, but there are too many good things to sell out. Okay, then remember to help me build a boat when you have the chance. It's difficult. Bai Lu was quite honest, but as soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly had an idea. You have something like this that can make a person's body stronger out of thin air. I wonder if there are any very powerful human beings. If there is one, we can sign a lease contract. You send your people to my side, and I will show you the various types of starships we have here. I will take your people with you whichever ship you like. Go over and ask your people to kill all the people or animals in the starship, and then I will stuff the starship into the trading space, and it will be done. People from another world robbed the starship. Even if the CPUs of those modified people in the Federation burned out, they wouldn't be able to find out who did it, okay? The more Bai Lu talked, the more excited he became. I wish I could let Suyi find a strong man to kill him right now. Even Suyi couldn't help but feel his heart beat faster when he heard this. If it were before, the high-end combat power on his side was only a month old, there was no guarantee that this kind of thing would not be dangerous, and he would definitely not agree to it. But it's different now. Didn't Xing'an just arrive? In the magical world, her combat power is second only to the God level. Isn't it easy to seize the technological world that others are unprepared for? Of course, he was not carried away by the temptation of the starship. After calming down for a while, he said, "Give me the starship illustrations and function introductions of your world first, and then I will use the power armor and landing craft you sent to study it before deciding whether to do this. There is a high probability that Xing'an will be one of our own in the future, and if she can succeed, letting her go is nothing." But he still doesn't know to what extent the weapons in Bailu's world have developed. If someone really has some powerful weapon that can deal with Xing'an, wouldn't it be a gift to send her there? This request is obviously reasonable. After Suyi waited for about half an hour, Bailu returned to the trading space with a pile of information. There are information on more than a dozen starships of different levels here, including commercial starships, military starships, and civilian sightseeing starships. Actually, I can find detailed information on quite a few starships here, but these are the only starships I have personally visited and know that the information is credible. In addition, I can't confirm the authenticity of those starship information, so I won't give it to you yet. You pick first, and let someone pick up which one you choose. Another fruitful day. Coming out of the trading space and looking at today's harvest, Suyi couldn't help but feel very good. It was actually already early in the morning. Glancing at the bedroom, Yuling didn't know when she had entered the room. She was sitting by the bed in her suspender pajamas and scrolling through her mobile phone. It was no longer strange for him to suddenly appear in the room after returning from the trading platform. He just smiled and said, "You're back, go to bed early. Be careful next time when you torment Yi. It's not like you don't know your physical qualities. Her small body won't be able to bear it. It's enough to give it a try." Su Yi's mouth twitched. Although he was thick-skinned when he heard such words from his real wife, he still felt a little embarrassed. He was about to wave his hands and excuse himself to take a shower and run away. Unexpectedly, the phone rang suddenly. It was Tianshu who was contacting him. Su Yi then remembered that he had brought his mobile phone with him when he entered the trading space. Of course, there was no signal from Blue Star in the trading space. It was probably that Tianshu had been looking for him for a long time, but he could not be contacted. That's why he contacted me again on some occasions as soon as he came out. Master, something happened, which may not be good news for the development of Tianyu Group. As soon as the call was connected, Tianshu's voice came from the phone. What's up? Just 3 hours ago, the Bald Eagle Kingdom released the latest batch of sanctions against Kyushu companies, and Tianyu Group happened to be on it. The reason is that they believe that Tianyu Medical's water of life is an unstable and dangerous drug. Unless we can provide relevant papers to prove it from a principal level, the water of life will never be able to be traded in the Bald Eagle market. And the scope of their sanctions is not just Tianyu Medical's water of life, but the entire Tianyu Group, including Tianyu Farm, is within the scope of sanctions. The 2 shipments of nearly 200,000 tons of grain that you asked me to reserve before are now either unwilling to fulfill the contract due to sanctions, or they want to use the situation to raise prices. Basically, major international grain merchants have made certain reactions to this sanction. I'm afraid you'll have to pay extra if you want to buy from other merchants. Is there such a thing? Su Yi couldn't help being stunned for a moment. The water of life can overturn the entire medical industry, so he expected Tianyu Medical to be sanctioned by the Western world. But he didn't expect that these people were much more shameless than he imagined. The entire Tianyu Group was directly sanctioned, and even the grain purchased through fair trade with real money and silver on the farm had to be restricted in every possible way. It's so shameless. After pondering for a moment, he said to Tianshu, "What do you think? Have you prepared a solution?" Tianshu immediately replied, "After calculation, I think this matter may not be a bad thing for Tianyu Group. The current production of Tianyu Group's main product, water of life, is seriously insufficient, and it is not enough to supply the interior of Kyushu, let alone outside Kyushu. You yourself have no idea of selling the water of life abroad, so the impact of sanctions on the group has not been big. On the contrary, it can also help the company gain greater fame, which is equivalent to the Bald Eagle giving the company free publicity. As for the treatment plans, I have prepared 2 sets at present. Option 1. Ignore it and just pretend it doesn't exist. As long as we show that we don't care enough and prove that we can get very good results without expanding overseas industries, it will be them who are anxious. After all, this is the internet age. Their stigmatization of the water of life cannot last forever. When the people of their country know the truth, they will be under great pressure when they find out that it is their own government that has refused this miracle medicine to enter the domestic market. This is a long-term plan. In the short term, we may only be silent and act as if we don't know about this matter at all. This may not be in line with your character, so I have prepared another plan. That is to express your dissatisfaction and disdain for the so-called sanctions in a high-profile manner, and use real technology to fight back this slap in the face. I would not have prepared this plan a week ago, but after you brought Blue Star's most advanced chip technology and its production line, the situation has been completely different. Bald Eagle has been sanctioning Kyushu for a long time. As each restrictive technology is conquered by Kyushu, they actually have very few chips in their hands. At present, Kyushu is the most difficult to break through the sanctions in a short time, but it has indispensable items. Chips definitely rank first. Breaking their monopoly and sanctions on chip technology will definitely be a huge blow to Bald Eagle. And the technology you have is just right for that, isn't it? Besides, according to the original plan, the chip was actually supposed to be released in the past 2 days. Now it is only announced 1 or 2 days earlier than the original plan, which is harmless. You are indeed smart. Su Yi chose the second option without any thought. A gentleman's revenge is never too late, but a villain's revenge is never too late. Su Yi never claimed to be a gentleman, and he didn't have the patience to wait for 10 years. If he wants to slap him in the face now, then carbon-based chips are naturally the best choice. There is no need to announce all the news in advance and ruin the original release plan. Just use the Tianyu Group's official account to announce in advance that there is such a thing and it will be launched in the near future, which is enough to explode. Of course, if you reveal this information now, you will definitely be ridiculed by people from all walks of life, but when Tianyu technology comes out with the finished product in a few days, the whole world will pay attention to it. Since you want to slap someone in the face, of course you have to wait until the opponent has opened the champagne and built up enough hatred, then the slap in the face will be interesting. Under Su Yi's instruction, Tianshu used the Tianyu Group's official account to post a message on the internet that night. Good news, Tianyu Technology Company, a subsidiary of Tianyu Group, has recently made a major breakthrough in the field of carbon-based chip research. It has now produced finished chips, and its performance far exceeds the top international levels. In 3 days, our company will launch a product launch conference at Zhangcheng Stadium. The future is here, so stay tuned. Not much was said, and not much was said that was really useful. But just the little bit that was revealed was already very explosive. Chips whose performance far exceeds the world's top levels are still carbon-based. And the person who released this information is Tianyu Group, a company that is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people for selling water of life. No matter how you look at it, this seems outrageous. No, it was so late at night. Did I stay up late and get dizzy? Far beyond the top international level, carbon-based chips. No, what is a carbon-based chip? Can anyone tell me? It's silly, but the browser doesn't charge a fee. If you encounter something, you'll know what to ask. What kind of cyber-disabled person can't search because he doesn't have hands? Isn't this purely a word game? It's true that there are many people researching carbon-based chips, but currently there are not many finished products that can be used. Carbon-based chips, whose performance far exceeds the world's top levels, are probably not as good as silicon-based chips from 10 years ago. Isn't this purely a word game to deceive those who don't understand? Haha, I can already imagine that after this news spreads, those brainless people in the comment areas of various websites will start talking about win-win-win again. That's right, Wolf Warrior is about to climax again. Carbon-based chip, ha ha ha, even if you are bragging, you can't even understand it. Didn't Tianyu Group make a lot of money just recently by relying on the water of life? Why are they still so ugly and making such headlines? Isn't it disgusting? What's there to say? I guess the water of life is no longer available. There are so many fools in this world who spend 8,888 on a bottle of useless drink. You know, they are going to open a new track. Brother, you have used the water of life and now you are saying that the water of life is useless. I have actually drank the water of life. I was lucky enough to grab 2 bottles when it was released before. I drank one myself and gave the other to me. There is no effect at all after drinking it. Don't I know it after I drink it? I can't say anything about my own experience after using it. You can only deceive people into spending money to buy wastewater, and the people who have been deceived are not allowed to come forward to expose it. The truth, right, you drank Nima. The purchase of water of life is limited. One person can only buy 1 bottle. Your brother is risking his life to buy 2 bottles. Can you do some homework before you cheat? Whether you believe it or not, I believe it anyway. I didn't believe that the water of life was real before, until 1 bottle cured my hemorrhoids, athlete's foot, and wisdom teeth that I had suffered for many years. I became a fan of Tianyu Group. Let alone carbon-based chips, even if Tianyu Group said they would build a starship tomorrow, I wouldn't doubt it at all. Me too, it's hard for those who have truly drank the water of life not to feel grateful. Tianyu Group only sells this kind of good stuff for 8,888, which is so conscientious. With the popularity of the Audiobook, Tianyu Group is now at the forefront of the internet. Coupled with the fact that Tianyu controlled the internet fishing boat to deliberately add fuel to the flames, Tianyu Group was sanctioned by Bald Eagle and then announced that it had conquered carbon-based chip technology, which soon became known to everyone on the internet. With traffic comes controversy. After all, the internet environment these days is no different from a cesspit. Researching high-yielding crops has fed countless people. People who were enough to become saints in ancient times can be scolded in this environment. Not to mention anything else. People don't even need a reason to scold you. With all the scolding going on, there is naturally no uncontroversial thing in the world. After deciding on the general direction of things, Suyi didn't bother to care about these nonsense. He left all the power to Tianyu, and he quickly took a bath and hugged the soft and fragrant Yuling and went to bed. He was indeed a little tired from running here and there today. However, he still couldn't sleep until he woke up naturally. The next morning, just after dawn, Suyi was woken up by a phone call from Old Man Lin. "Boy, is that carbon-based chip of yours real or fake?" Suyi looked at the time in confusion and said helplessly, "Brother, it's only 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm sleeping. Let's talk about it later. Don't hang up." Old Man Lin suddenly became anxious. "How can you sleep at your age? I won't hide it from you. It's not that I'm curious, but that many people above are curious." Do you know how much impact the news you sent out last night had? It can be said that the whole world was shocked. But your company hasn't released any useful information. Don't tell me that you were drunk in the middle of the night and made a joke to the whole world. Of course it's not a joke, carbon-based chips are real. It's also true that the performance is leading the world's top level, and it's not a word play. Our carbon-based chips support 1 nanometer, energy production, and output are not low. In all aspects, they are better than the current state of the art. Advanced silicon-based chips are much better. Su Yi explained a few words casually, and then hung up the phone impatiently. It's so early in the morning, if I hit you again I will blacklist you. Quote. Do. Listening to the busy signal coming from the phone, Mr. Lin, sitting in a bright conference room, looked confused. The gentle old men sitting next to him were stunned on the spot. Lao Cheng, Lao Jiao, don't be in a daze. You should have heard what he said. Tell me what he said. Old man Lin scratched his head anxiously when he saw the two of them in a daze. Ever since Tianyu Group released the news last night, officials have been paying attention. Originally, I wanted to contact someone from Tianyu Group to ask if it was true or false. But considering that it was too late, and this probably involved extremely important business secrets, asking the workers probably wouldn't yield much, so the higher-ups thought of sending old man Lin, who was most familiar with Su Yi, to ask. In order to prevent old man Lin, an old man, from not understanding chip technology and knowing nothing about some professional terms, 2 experts in related fields were even sent overnight to observe to avoid missing any important information. But when he called and asked questions, the experts suddenly stopped talking, which made old Lin feel very uncomfortable. It's up to you to tell whether it's useful or not. Finally, after he asked repeatedly, the old academician known as Lao Cheng came to his senses first and replied with trembling lips. If what he said is true, Tianyu Group has really mastered mature carbon-based chip technology and has been able to mass-produce 1 nanometer level chips. Then, the West's influence on us in the semiconductor field, all sanctions will become a joke. Another old man also said. It's not just semiconductors, it also involves many precision processing fields. If you are not a scientific researcher, you have no idea what kind of technology is needed to make integrated circuits at the 1 nanometer level. But all this needs to have a premise, that is, it is true. Old Lin, are you sure it is true? Now I understand. Old man Lin was confused by what the previous 2 people said about the technology and its functions, but in short, it was awesome. In the last sentence, which questioned whether the chip was real, old man Lin said without thinking. What this kid says is outrageous every time, but it turns out that he never lies. So I believe it is true. The public opinion on the internet is like a mountain and a tsunami, but the Tianyu Group is still as stable as a mountain and has not been affected by public opinion at all. After all, the company is run by an emotionless AI. Without further orders from Su Yi, Tianshu will only develop the company in the way it thinks is the most reasonable, and plan for the future based on the existing company assets and market conditions. Seeing that the company's senior management was as stable as a rock, the employees who had been somewhat upset by the internet crisis gradually settled down and went about their own affairs. The officials acted in a hurry, not at all like their usual calm demeanor. They had contacted Su Yi several times through old man Lin in the past 2 days. Su Yi was so annoyed that he asked Tianshu to give the green light to the anxious official scholars and researchers and leak some technical information about carbon-based chips. There is no need to teach them the principles of carbon-based chips. Blue Star actually has this thing, but the technology is not mature enough compared to silicon-based chips. There is no need to teach them how to make carbon-based chips and what technologies are required. Just let them understand the feasibility of this thing and know that Tianyu Group is not bragging and can really build it. After all, this involves some of the top-level decisions and strategic designs of Kyushu officials. Being able to tear apart the shackles that the West has placed on Kyushu in terms of semiconductors is definitely a major event that can affect the national strategy. It is normal for them to be anxious. Su Yi can also understand. As long as it won't harm your own interests at all, there's nothing wrong with letting the authorities know. This little thing, with his instructions, is naturally very simple for Tianshu. However, What Su Yi didn't expect was that when he announced the carbon-based chip technology, the West, who originally expected to be impatient, made no move. It was because there was really no movement, not because he didn't know there was any movement. After all, Tianshu is watching on the internet, and nothing can escape Tianshu's eyes. So there was an embarrassing situation where he originally released the carbon-based chip to respond to Bald Eagle's sanctions and slap people in the face, but they were not moved at all. Some people in the country who were against Tianyu Group, or simply anti-Kyushu, saw this situation and suddenly had another burst of revelry. Make the network environment a mess. But the good news is that all the information about these people was unboxed by Su Yurang Tianshu. If you like to scream, you won't have any share of the water of life in the future. As for the fact that the carbon-based chip was ignored by the person who originally wanted to slap him in the face, Su Yi didn't take it too seriously. If you are bluffing and being ignored, you will naturally become a clown and the butt of laughter. But he is different. He is really skilled and can even put the finished product on the market right away. By then it will be obvious who the clown is. At the same time, Clay and Gago, who had come to Su Yi to discuss business overnight, also came to him again after returning to return their orders. This time I also brought a contract. Island lease contract. Ujo John Bull Country plans to lease a place called Delos Island on the Asan Ocean to Tianyu Group at a price of 1 yuan. And completely open the entire Ujo market to Tianyu Group, using this as a bargaining chip in exchange for the water of life that can prolong life. Of course, in addition to this, there are some things that the Tianyu Group is required to do in the contract. The mess seems to be very harsh, but in fact, there are many loopholes in the content of the contract. Clay, who came with the contract, pointed out the loopholes one by one to Su Yi, so that Su Yi would not implement these regulations when the time came. There is no way. They still have to explain to the people, and they still have to do something to show off. Of course Su Yi has no objection to this. But he had a bigger opinion on another matter. It was originally agreed that he would give 5 bottles of water of life that could prolong life, and then privately give 1 bottle to Clay and Gago each, and the matter would be over. But this time the contract has been increased to 80. According to these two people, this is the price negotiated by the Ujo Alliance's parliamentary leaders. To put it bluntly, it's a lion's mouth, and they don't expect Su Yi to agree. Because they received the most direct benefit from Su Yi, the two brothers, as the people who came to discuss this matter in Ujo, did not hesitate to tell the truth about the old men in the council, and they also gave it to them very considerately. Su Yi explained why the bottom line is the 8 branches of water of life. So, there are a total of 15 most powerful families on your side who can take charge of this matter. You need at least 8 bottles of water of life and the support of more than 8 families for this matter to pass. Su Yi thought that according to the Western style of urine, such a big matter would definitely not be decided by a few people. The news brought by these two men pointed him to a completely new path. If just a few people can decide the direction of things, then why would he give the water of life? Just ask Yu Ling to complete the magic and get these people to agree directly. After all, this kind of water of life that can extend life is a really good thing. Just take 1 bottle and dilute it, and it is enough to make tens of thousands of basic versions of water of life. That's all money. However, after some detailed understanding, Su Yi gave up the idea of letting Yu Ling surrender to these people. It's very simple. The people who can make decisions on such matters are all leaders and heads of various interest groups. They make their own decisions, and of course they will wipe their own afterwards to ensure that the matter can be implemented smoothly. There are too many things involved. If the temptation to increase their lifespan wasn't too great, they probably wouldn't agree to this. Just using magic to control these people to sign a contract would be fine in ordinary business, but it would definitely not work in such a major matter involving territory. Without the efforts of these upper-level interest groups in the Ujo Alliance, this behavior that is close to ceding territory will definitely be rejected, and there will be too many troubles in the future. He couldn't let Yu Ling stay there and manipulate these people to deal with it, or kill anyone who disobeyed. This is not realistic. It is better to use their local vested interests to suppress those who oppose it. The benefits to people are definitely indispensable. It is impossible to increase the water of life, just the 5 mentioned before. As for at least 8 people to agree, how to get the other 3 votes is not my problem. Su Yi said lightly. When they take the water of life, they don't think they just need to vote and that's it, right? These are my exact words. You go back and tell the gentleman in the parliament over there. That's it. Clay and Gago looked at each other, but they did not continue to argue. To put it bluntly, their greatest interest in this matter is the water of life given to them by Su Yi. They are now on the same side as Su Yi, and they are not on the side of the big shots in the Ujo Alliance Council. The big boss has spoken, and they have taken the water of life. Naturally, they will have to think of a solution when they return. Instead of complaining to Su Yi here about how difficult this matter is, Clay and Gago responded quickly. Didn't even return to Ujo. The next morning, they found Su Yi again. Tell him that the Lords of Parliament have approved the deal. As for how to divide the 5 water of life among themselves, that is not something Su Yi should be concerned about. All he has to do is ensure that he gets the land. A piece of land that does not belong to any country or region, does not have any sovereignty or justice, and belongs only to him alone. Of course, under normal circumstances, if you don't have enough strength, there will be constant disputes after getting this land. Su Yike knew very well what these white-skinned guys were like. What a contract spirit, bullshit. If he does not have the strength, I am afraid that when the water of life promised to the other party is handed over, the issue of sovereignty of this land will be put on the table, followed by various disputes, and maybe there will be another local war. This is probably the most important reason why the people from the Ujo Alliance passed the transaction plan so quickly. They just wanted to deceive the water of life and had no intention of giving the island to Su Yi. Of course, they agreed to whatever conditions Su Yi put forward. But despite this, after signing the contract, he promised the other party to deliver the 5 bottles of water of life within a week. The Ujo Alliance also promised to start relocating the indigenous people on the island from the date the contract is signed. The population above is not large, only a few thousand people in total. Migration is very simple, just transfer a few ships from nearby and it can be done in one day. According to the agreement, after the people move away, the people from the Tianyu group will take over the island. Within a week, Tianyu group was probably rearranging the island and building infrastructure. By the time the water of life was delivered, the matter was already a done deal for Su Yi. As for whether they would have any unexpected tricks after delivering the water of life, Su Yi didn't care at all. He obtained the power armor and low Earth orbit landing craft from another world. Being able to carry out an airborne decapitation in low Earth orbit in a matter of minutes is much more shocking than Yu Ling's extremely lethal but unknown blood magic. He is hiding it for the time being and does not want to expose it, but if the other party wants to die, he will not shock the world with a little black technology. Sir, the press conference about the LINGXIAO-1 chip has been prepared and will officially start in 3 hours. Do you want to ask CEO Ms. Yu Ling to host the press conference this time? Tianshu's reminder rang on Su Yi's cell phone. The news of carbon-based chips has been leaked for a few days, and the entire production line from Beilu has basically been put into production. The production line of this thing is fully automatic. With Tianshu control, the technical aspects do not require human intervention at all. Naturally, problems such as the lack of corresponding technicians to control the machine can be omitted. The speed of putting into production is very fast. There was enough waste heat before, and the entries on the internet about Tianyu Group's carbon-based chips are still among the top searches on major websites. It's almost time to take things out. It also happens to give some strength to those in the West who ignore it. Do you really think I am bragging? What do you mean, are you willing to go? The person involved was right next to him, so Su Yi naturally didn't make any decisions. There's nothing else to do anyway, so just go. Yu Ling was relatively indifferent to this. The education she received from an early age allowed her to face any big scene without stage fright. And compared to the previous press conference of the Water of Life, which required her to talk about this and that, this time Tianshu has prepared all the speeches for her, and when she encounters some problems, she will tell her how to answer them in real time through the headset. There's nothing you can't go to. Okay, then you can go. Su Yi nodded and was about to tell Tianshu to arrange the corresponding clothing and makeup artist team, but before he could speak, Tianshu took the initiative and said, Sir, I think with Ms. Yu Ling's appearance, we can make some different choices in terms of makeup and clothing design. We don't necessarily have to wear what outsiders call formal clothes, but we can make Ms. Yuling wear something more distinctive. In this way, we can better demonstrate the internal culture and spiritual outlook of our Tianyu group to the outside world and establish a good company image. Of course, this is just a suggestion from me and will not have much impact on the company's product sales. In business, many times the company image is tied to the brand image. Although you have a steady stream of black people, technology doesn't seem to need to pay attention to these details, but as a commercial AI, I need to consider this aspect, and it's up to you whether to adopt it or not. If you are willing, I have prepared several unique sets of clothing for Miss Yuling to order in advance. This surprised both Suyi and Yuling. After the two looked at each other, Yuling said, "What kind of thing? Let's take it out and look at it first." The next moment, Tianshu's body, which she hung on her wrist as a jewelry, released a holographic projection. In front of the two of them, he contacted some tailor shops in Kyushu that had been passed down for many years, and displayed several sets of clothes specially customized for Yuling. Suyi took a look. Good guys, they are all in ancient costumes. And it's not the kind of ancient costume that is made of rough materials and shoddily made at first glance. They are all the best of the best, and the silk threads on them are extremely high-end silk threads that can be seen with the naked eye. How much did you spend on ordering these things? Suyi couldn't help but ask curiously. If the unit price of this piece was placed on the market, it would be around 800,000 yuan, but I didn't spend any money. Tianshu explained. Last time I asked Ms. Yuling if she would mind commercializing her image within a certain range, and Ms. Yuling gave an affirmative answer. I used the excuse of Ms. Yuling's endorsement as an excuse to contact several time-honored tailor shops that claimed to have served the royal family. They all readily accepted that these clothes were specially designed and made for Ms. Yuling at no charge. Of course, in the agreement I reached with them, Ms. Yuling does not need to personally endorse them for this. She only needs to authorize them to use your image within a certain range and within a limited scope. To put it bluntly, the most she can do is use Yuling's photo, and she doesn't even need to have contact with them. Why not just buy it with money? Suyi asked curiously. Tianyu Group is not short of money either. Considering the characteristics of Tianyu Group, certain linkages with these ancient brands will enhance the brand image. And if you just buy them with money, you may not be able to buy these clothes in a short time. Tianshu gave its answer. Suyi glanced at Yuling, and there was no big surprise in her eyes. Obviously, it was true that Tianshu asked her for image authorization before. My image is so valuable, Yuling said curiously. Of course, Ms. Yuling, I have carefully studied all aspects of humanities and social sciences in this world. Your appearance and temperament perfectly match the aesthetics of humans in this world. Even if you only appeared once at the Ode Life launch conference, you already have a large number of fans and loyal fans on the internet. I'm afraid you don't even know how popular you are. It can even be said that at least 1/3 of Tianyu Group's current attention is because of you. That's right, can my wife not be beautiful? Suyi also agreed. This made Yuling a little embarrassed, so she patted him lightly and said, I suspect you are working with it to make me happy. Madam, please believe in my integrity as an intelligent AI. I will not lie, Tianshu said seriously. That's right, you are more beautiful than anyone else says. Let me tell you, just a few pieces of clothing can make you an ambassador. Those tailor shops are making a lot of money, Suyi said with approval. After all, even if Yuling was placed in a different world nourished by magic power and filled with countless handsome men and beauties, her appearance would still be top-notch. Not to mention the temperament blessing brought by the identity of the elf princess. Completely invincible. Yuling was visibly happy after hearing this. Although she also knows how beautiful she is, it depends on who says it. She wouldn't care how outsiders praised her appearance, but it was completely different if Suyi praised her. Where are the clothes? I'll change them. It has been sent to the door. Tianshu replied immediately. And as soon as it finished speaking, the doorbell happened to be rang. It was obviously well prepared. This is the power of AI. If a person takes one step and sees 3 steps, he is already very powerful. But Tianshu can take one step and see countless steps, arrange everything, and never waste a minute or a second. While arranging trivial matters such as what to wear for the Yuling press conference, it can also simultaneously handle reception and construction issues on islands thousands of miles away. And no matter how big or small the matter is, we have prepared 2 or even several sets of plans to deal with any unexpected situations that may arise. When Yuling changed her clothes and came out, even though Suyi was used to her beauty, she couldn't help but her eyes lit up. A person depends on his clothes. This saying is valid for anyone, even Yuling is no exception. The first set of clothes she changed into was extremely complicated, and it was obvious at a glance that it was an ancient palace costume that was extremely complicated to make. The clothes are overall bright red with complex gold lines on them. The people who sent the clothes were the teams from the tailor shops, and their people specially gave Yuling a retro hairstyle and a bunch of expensive-looking jewelry. The main theme is a rich man. If you wear this kind of clothing on others, it will only look vulgar, and it may even give people the feeling of being like a monkey. But wearing this thing on Yuling doesn't give people the slightest sense of disobedience. It will only make the noble aura in her body even more noble. It's like she was born to wear this. Pretty. Suyi couldn't help but give a thumbs up. The female makeup artist who came over to help Yuling style her hair and teach her how to wear such clothes couldn't help but said, "I didn't agree with the store manager's previous proposal to make such rich and luxurious costumes. After all, there are no queens in modern society. How can anyone wear such rich and impressive clothes? I didn't expect Miss Yu to wear them. It's so beautiful that it fits so well. We still have a few sets of clothes that are more plain. Do you need to change them and try them on?" Yuling did not answer, but looked at Suyi. Seeing this, Suyi directly made the decision. "No need to try, just use this. The other few sets will be left here. You can make a few more sets when you go back. It doesn't matter if you have money or not." Before, he was curious about what kind of clothes could sell for hundreds of thousands, but now it seems that the price is really no problem. This is art, and it should be sold at this price. The key is that few women can hold on to this kind of clothes. The market is very small, and people have to sell them more expensively in order to survive. Since he is not short of money, they are really capable, and Yuling seems to like the clothes, then Suyi doesn't mind letting them earn some. "Then I'll thank you on behalf of the shop owner." The makeup artist who knew the other person's identity thanked him repeatedly. While Suyi was still trying on clothes with Yuling, Tianyu Group made another sudden attack and announced that a carbon-based chip conference would be held in the afternoon. Online public opinion, which was already highly controversial about Tianyu Group, exploded again. And the news released by Tianshu this time is not only about the time of the press conference, but also the list of participants. Everyone in Kyushu is familiar with the above, or even if they have never heard of it, they will know from the job description that they are not simple bosses, and they immediately sent an earthquake to the entire network. It quickly attracted the attention of countless people. "No, brother, are you really coming? I thought you were bragging, or just trying to make money with the concept of carbon-based chips. You told me to launch it now. Haha, it's no wonder that carbon-based chip technology is not mature at all. There are no carbon-based chips that have been successfully commercialized abroad. This is definitely nonsense. The so-called press conference is probably just a concept to defraud money, and the finished product cannot be seen at all. Forget about the display. If you don't have anything, do you dare to hold a press conference? That's too typical. What your foreign father can't do, Tianyu Group can't do. They have water of life, is it available abroad?" That's right, when it came to the water of life, a bunch of people said that Tianyu Group was a liar. What was the result? The water of life is no more outrageous than this chip. People can even take out that thing, let alone these books. As for chips that are theoretically feasible, I believe in Tianyu Group anyway, and Tianyu Group saved my life. It's so funny. It's like you didn't pay for the water of life. You spend money to buy things and you have to be grateful to others. What a cyber-dutiful son. Has cured a disease that I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on but couldn't cure. What's more, why not just thank me? Should the person who co-authored it give it to you for free? Haha, why don't you think about how many people don't have these 8 or 9,000 yuan? These people's diseases don't need to be treated. No, Tianyu Group didn't make you get this disease. It's none of their business whether you can cure it or not. They gave you a much cheaper treatment plan than before, so why shouldn't you get some thanks already? If not for the fact that there are so many white-eyed wolves in this world, I have a minor ailment and have spent countless amounts of money on various medicines and minor surgeries, which are of no use at all. Now I'm afraid I won't be able to get the water of life, but if I get one, let alone the chip, I will believe it even if Tianyu Group says the earth is flat. Stop licking. If you lick your bare skin, whether you can get a spot depends on your ability. Oh, Mr. Yu, are you here too? 1 nanometer carbon-based chips have been released, so why not come? Mr. Liu, are you also here to attend Tianyu Group's chip launch conference? Yes, how can our company be absent from such a grand event? Mr. Ma, your company's software developers also came to see the hardware launch conference. Of course, software is always based on hardware. It is quite necessary to witness the birth of a new generation of technology in advance. Quote. The grand venue was already overcrowded at this time. The VIP seats in the front row are almost all big shots from well-known companies in Kyushu. Anyone who picks one and puts it in front of the camera can be recognized. After seeing the lineup of VIP seats, many netizens watching the live broadcast even made a special table. It is difficult to estimate the connection between the big names in the table and the companies they represent. It can be said that half of the entire JoJo internet and semiconductor industry has gathered in Zhongcheng at this time. And they didn't just send a representative or manager to do something perfunctory, they all came in person from the leaders of their respective companies. Of course, as for the purpose of coming here, it is hard to say whether it is for the 1 nanometer carbon-based chip that is the protagonist of this product launch of Tianyu Group, or for the water of life. Perhaps they came simply for the chips, or perhaps they came simply for the water of life. Or it could be both. Su Yi even felt that some of the people here might have accepted missions from certain Western countries and came here to test. But that doesn't matter at all. The important thing is that they came and made this press conference loud enough. It attracted enough attention. In this way, it will be more satisfying when he slaps him in the face later. Otherwise, no matter how good the thing he has is, even if it is released, it will become completely popular very quickly and seize the original market. But when there is a lack of attention, the feedback he gets immediately will be much less, and he also loses a lot of the fun of slapping others in the face and watching others break their defenses. According to Tianshu's arrangement, the process before the press conference was actually quite short. No specific technical issues were introduced. It was mostly about welcoming this and that. Then he briefly boasted about how awesome the 1 nanometer carbon-based chip launched by Tianyu Group was, and then it was Yu Ling's turn to take the stage. As Su Yi expected, Yu Ling, who appeared in an extremely gorgeous costume, gave everyone in the audience a huge shock. The people at the scene were either the bosses of large groups or companies, and they were basically all big shots. Although they were inevitably stunning, they were still relatively reserved due to their status. But netizens watching the live broadcast on the internet will not think so much. The first time I saw Yu Ling, the official live broadcast room of this live broadcast cleared the screen in an instant, and the screen was filled with barrages that could no longer be seen. Holy shit, oh shit, it's her, she's really here. Oh my god, this is much more beautiful than last time. It's so exaggerated. Isn't this really heavy beautification plus makeup plus filters? I really don't believe that anyone in the world can be so good looking. It can be said that the whole length is in my aesthetic sense. I am a makeup artist. To be honest, let alone beauty filters, people barely even put on makeup. I can tell at a glance. At most, they only used a little lipstick. Have you seen it all? This is my wife. Someone come and pee on him so that he can wake up. Don't come with diabetes. Don't let him taste the sweetness. If you want to eat your shit, that's right. You are the CEO of Tianyu Group. What a beast you are. Didn't you see human hair a few days ago? This beauty has a boyfriend, a handsome guy. Haha, you are a soft-fed dog. How do you know that someone is a soft-boiled person? He is so handsome, and he looks like he is only about 20 years old. Yu Ling is the president of Tianyu Group, and he is fair and plump. Isn't this just a soft meal? That sounds like it's true. Who wouldn't want to eat this soft rice? That thief, I have no sworn relationship with him. Whoever takes out his ite, I will go and blow him up right away. Su Yi, this is the thief, go ahead. Isn't this the big boss of Tianyu Group rumored on the internet? Ah, the boss of Tianyu Group is so young and handsome. Su Yi didn't expect that no one cared about what he looked like, let alone noticed. Unexpectedly, because Yu Ling's appearance is so incredible, she already appeared at the last Ode to Life press conference and shocked the world, causing her to gain a lot of attention. Then someone took a photo of the two of them when they went out. Coupled with the secret efforts of the C-language boss, his appearance was also exposed to the public. It's like opening the box directly for him. Almost everyone who pays attention to Tianyu Group now knows that although this company is so big, the boss and president are a pair of extremely handsome boys and beautiful girls. This time the attention is even higher. Tianshu, you should be able to easily erase traces of this kind of thing on the internet, right? Su Yi said helplessly. It is impossible that Tianshu could not have discovered the risk of him being dug out by the public before, but he did nothing. Why should we erase all traces and hide our identity? Tianshu seemed a little confused. The personality of the company's top executives is sometimes an important factor in whether the company can develop healthily. Especially in your era where traffic is king and idols are rampant, if you can create a better personality for yourself, Tianyu Group will be better in the future. The development will definitely be smoother. Blue Star Jojo Rice Group is a good example. The company's CEO himself has great appeal. Even if the products are sometimes unsatisfactory, he can still occupy a place in the market. Although your company is different from other companies in that it completely occupies a leading position in the market and does not seem to have such an urgent need for operational methods other than these products, this is only temporary. Who can say for sure what will happen in the future? Tianshu explained patiently. Su Yi couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth when he heard this. He just wants to make money easily. After getting money, he hoped to live a happy life. Now that he is almost becoming an internet celebrity, how can he be free and happy? At that time, if you have to be surrounded by people whenever you go out, that will be a waste of time. No, as a client, I reject this plan. As for the current situation, just keep it quiet. Don't deliberately suppress the news for the time being, and there is no need to respond. Netizens only have 7 seconds of memory. After all, marketing has not officially started yet. After a few days, the limelight will pass. It's better to focus more on the production of carbon-based chips. Okay, sir, I'm sorry to have contributed to this matter without your consent. I will eliminate the inconvenience caused to your daily life as soon as possible. Although Su Yi's request is not in line with Tianshu's internal business logic, the big boss has already spoken. Why should he worry about an AI? Thank you very much to all the guests and viewers for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and watch the launch of our Tianyu Group Lingxiao-1 chip. According to the speech prepared by Tianshu, Yu Ling briefly introduced the technical principles of carbon-based chips and why the process can reach the 1 nanometer level. These technical issues are very complex, but fortunately Tianshu is a genius, and his terrifying computing power allows him to learn any language extremely quickly. Even in terms of understanding of written languages, it is now more proficient than Yu Ling, who has used the World Language Pass card. With Tianshu's strong writing skills, this speech can be said to be vivid, emotional, and easy to understand. Even people who didn't know anything about semiconductors before will probably have a rough impression of this Lingxiao chip after listening to it, and know how awesome it is compared to current chips. These things are said to be technical, but in fact, even if you tell others all the principles, there is a lack of corresponding equipment in the world, and it is impossible for others to make them. For example, Kyushu was stuck in this aspect before. Don't they know how a chip works? Of course we do. But the problem is that this kind of thing involves precision processing. If you know the principle and can't make it, what's the use? Not to mention that the technical aspects disclosed in Tianshu's manuscript are incomplete. It's no use telling anyone, there's no need to worry at all. And at the end of the introduction, in order to prove that what I introduced is real and not just a bragging product that exists on the PPT, Yu Ling even took out a finished carbon-based chip. There are too many worries about the chip. Hers is a graphics card chip made by Tianyu Group. This is also the thing that can most intuitively display the performance of the chip. However, a chip alone is definitely not enough. Things like graphics cards also need various driver support. The good news is that Tianyu Group has Tianshu, which saves programmers from typing code. Tianshu can come up with a bunch of drivers that can be adapted to this temporary graphics card in minutes. Let this thing be used almost like the Invista graphics card on the market today. Of course, this almost refers to the adaptation aspect. In terms of performance, the graphics cards available on the market are really not worthy of this thing. Have you ever seen a graphics card with 16 terabytes of video memory? This thing was temporarily created by Tianyu Group for the press conference. In order to better demonstrate the performance of the graphics card, Tianshu also developed a virtual engine. The effect is hundreds of miles ahead of the latest Unreal 5 engine on the market today. Then, the audience who came to the scene and on the internet watched helplessly as Tianyu Group used that messy pile of junk to interpret the now extremely popular standalone game Black Wukong. Compared to the original game when it is running, it can still be seen as more or less a game. Using this set of graphics cards, Tianshu contributed a lot of his computing power. The graphics in the game are almost indistinguishable from reality. This is still the result of temporary patchwork. If any game company really uses the capabilities of this graphics card and the CPU computing power from Tianyu Group in the future, and uses the virtual engine developed by Tianshu to develop a game, the effect is definitely countless times better than this. Of course, this level of carbon-based chip technology is not only applicable to graphics cards. It's just that the performance of the graphics card is the easiest to display visually. After watching the simple demonstration, even people who don't know anything about it can already clearly feel how outrageous the performance of Tianyu Group's improvised gadget is. And those who know what they do, after seeing it, they say it's awesome and never stop. The ultra-high-definition picture is almost indistinguishable from reality. Who wouldn't be confused after watching this? If you don't understand, I'd like to ask, if this thing is really produced and not sold on the market, will it have an impact on the current game industry? It seems that you really don't understand. This is just a demonstration. The graphics card is just the tip of the iceberg displayed by the carbon-based chip technology. It is no exaggeration to say that if Tianyu Group does not commit any fraud in today's press conference, then I think the technology they hold is enough to change the world's structure. Semiconductors, what a huge market. If it is directly overturned by our JoJo companies, we will probably be able to follow suit. What kind of soup are you drinking? Is it possible that Tianyu Group can still give you some money? Are you really treating yourself like a dog of capitalists day by day? It is entirely possible to suddenly occupy such a large market and give the economy, which has been somewhat sluggish in the past 2 years, a huge wave of growth. Do you dare to say that economic development has no benefits for ordinary people? The guy above is really a bit outrageous. To be honest, I don't believe this is true. Unless it was taken in reality, who could take pictures of this level of quality? Is it possible that if this were shot in real life, it would be even more terrifying? That's right, the monsters in it are all exactly the same as real ones, and there's no sense of inconsistency at all. There are no flaws in his skills. If it were a real shot, he couldn't let people put on a leather holster and hide in it, right? That would be too fake. It's true, in order to sell fake chips, Tianyu Group specially found a few monsters to accompany it in filming promotional videos. Ha ha ha, I was laughing so hard. The real machine demonstration was so shocking that after Yu Ling finished his introduction, many viewers were still immersed in the scene they just saw and couldn't get back to their senses for a long time. The first to react were the well-known domestic internet companies. After being stunned, Brother Ma, who came to the scene in person from the Penguin Group, no longer cared about the reserve of big entrepreneurs or successful people. As a businessman who started out as a software professional, he understands very well how much impact this kind of hardware innovation can have on software. And he is knowledgeable. After a brief look just now, he found that Tianyu Group is not only awesome in hardware. From graphics card adaptation to virtual engine, all they used were techniques he couldn't understand. The results are surprisingly good. If this could be used to make games, how much money would it make? He immediately stood up and said, "Ms. Yu, can you tell me the price of your company's graphics card? What technology is this virtual engine based on, and why is the effect so good?" "I don't know, so why don't you disclose it?" Yu Ling glanced at him after hearing this. "Well, This was a big shot. He had heard Su Yi talking about this person many times before. But they are not good words. But no matter who came to talk to her at this time, she had only one answer. Hello, Mr. Ma, I'm not comfortable revealing this. If your company has the intention to cooperate, you can ask a professional team to connect with Tianyu Technology, a subsidiary of our Tianyu Group. Only then did Xiao Ma realize that he was being somewhat abrupt. However, when he looked back at the other colleagues with unkind eyes, he didn't care too much. He chuckled and apologized to Yu Ling, then sat back down in his seat. He doesn't care about other people's hostility, but at present, it seems that none of the technologies of Tianyu Group are useless to his penguin. Of course, it's not easy to neglect. Next, Yu Ling spent nearly half an hour, following the process arranged by Tianshu, demonstrating the skills of carbon-based chips from various angles that might be suspected. The more you look at it, the more frightening it becomes. Especially those foreign media. Those people from foreign semiconductor companies were basically invited by Tianyu Group. Su Yi originally planned to call them to the scene to slap them in the face. Unexpectedly, people didn't think it was true at all, and they didn't even come. But if the professionals don't come, the news media who like to join in the fun will certainly not be absent. With Tianyu Group creating a huge momentum on the internet, many well-known foreign media naturally came to hear about it and wanted to see whether it was a mule or a horse. When they came in, most of these people were still confident, thinking that even if Tianyu Group's so-called carbon-based chips were real, they would definitely have huge flaws and could not be more reliable and advanced than their current silicon-based chips. Until they watched the performance demonstrations of projects led by Yu Ling. The more they looked at them, the more frightened they became. After reading it, their hearts almost felt cold. Semiconductor technology. Today, when the automobile industry is gradually being cannibalized by Kyushu, this is already one of the few large-scale high-value-added industries in the entire Western world. Anyone with a little bit of common sense knows what terrible consequences it will bring if the semiconductor industry is overturned by Kyushu. Although Kyushu has been catching up before today, the gap between the two sides in technology accumulation is very large. No matter how awesome Kyushu is, it is simply unrealistic to catch up in a short while. Because many things are just a matter of time and effort and cannot be done quickly. Even if the monopoly is slowly broken down one by one, it will take a long time. The West can still have a good time. What happened today is undoubtedly a heavy stick on the head of the entire West, which made those Westerners who had known about the semiconductor industry before coming here feel dizzy. The scariest thing is that this happened without any warning. It was so unexpected that they didn't even have time to prepare. Those semiconductor giants didn't even bother to take a look. Not to mention preparing any countermeasures. The reporters present, including those corporate bosses, after confirming that this carbon-based chip may be real, can almost guess what kind of bloody storm the entire semiconductor industry will usher in after the news spreads. Some people are excited, some are in complicated moods, and some even feel like they are mourning for their heirs. In a small press conference, it can be said that all kinds of life are displayed. And with all the anticipation, it's finally time for the real stuff, the interview session. Without waiting for reporters or distinguished guests to ask questions, Yu Ling took the lead and said, "Before the interview begins, I have something else to say to you. That's why we are so anxious to get our carbon-based chips out. There are two reasons. One is that our company is already quite mature in this area of technology, and we even have a complete team responsible for the supporting software development technology. There is no problem at all in selling it on the market at this time." Quote. The other reason is more interesting. Speaking of this, Yu Ling showed a smile on her lips. Our boss is a very narrow-minded person. His tenet has always been to not offend others unless others offend us. A few days ago, Bald Eagle Country put Tianyu Group on the sanctions list for no reason. With all due respect, apart from letting them enjoy themselves, this thing actually has no impact on our Tianyu Group. The current production capacity of our company's Water of Life may not be enough to supply the domestic market, let alone the foreign market. Quote. But even if there is no impact, such barbaric and rude behavior makes our boss very unhappy. In his words, if you don't make it easy for me, then everyone will have to leave. That's why he released the news about carbon-based chips in advance and advanced the original chip release date by a few days. Anyway, this is not harmful to our company, but for some countries with strong financial powers, it may not be easy for such a black swan to appear in the semiconductor industry. Yes, our Tianyu Group is targeting the bald eagle and the Western Group headed by the bald eagle. So, here I need to emphasize what our boss told me to say. Tianyu Group will impose sanctions on the bald eagle empire from now on. No Tianyu Group products will flow into the market of bald eagle and its allied countries. It may sound ridiculous that a small company wants to challenge the world's most powerful empire, but please believe that someone will regret it, and this person will definitely not be Tianyu Group, let alone our boss. Having said this, Yu Ling smiled slightly and said, "Now, let's start the interview session. If you have any questions, feel free to ask." Quote. Quiet. It wasn't just the place that was quiet. Even on the online live broadcast room, there were only a few barrages at this time. Without him, Yu Ling's words just now shocked everyone a little too much. As the trade war has become more intense in recent years, countless companies in Kyushu have been targeted and sanctioned by Bald Eagle. But most of the time, all these companies can do is to complain and take the moral high ground to criticize others. To others, it is not painful at all. Everyone knew that Tianyu Group was sanctioned, and everyone thought at first that it would end with Tianyu Group swallowing its anger. Unexpectedly, after being silent for several days and not expressing any opinions on being sanctioned, Tianyu Group actually gave everyone a tough meal. At the press conference, he directly criticized the official of the world's most powerful country by name. And he named the other party to fight to the end. There's nothing false about it. Don't worry about whether this is true or not, but it makes you angry. They've all been bullied to their core, so what's the use of pretending to be pitiful and weak to gain the moral high ground? You should punch hard and hit you back hard. If you can't beat me, you have to scold me. Because Yu Ling's speech was so explosive, the reporters who had prepared a bunch of sharp questions to embarrass Tianyu Group did not dare to ask random questions when it came to the reporters' question session. Just kidding, people can start a fight with the most powerful country in the world, but little Kurami like them or nothing. What should I do if someone asks me if I'm unhappy and then get yelled at a few times? As for those who plan to lick Tianyu Group during the interview, to build a good relationship between the two parties for better cooperation in the future. Now I don't dare to ask any more questions. After all, this Tianyu Group has severely offended a wave of bald eagles. Now that you're having a good time, what are you going to do if people counterattack later? Even if you are not afraid of bald eagle sanctions, then I am. Therefore, Yu Ling, who originally thought that he would face various difficult questions, did not encounter any difficulties during the question and answer session this time. The reporters present only asked some basic things. For example, how much is the output, and what kind of chips are likely to sell for, etc. There was no digression. In short, the interaction was completed very easily and the press conference ended. Even when she announced that Tianyu Group's carbon-based chips are not only cheaper than current silicon-based chips, but also have more than 10 times the performance of chips of the same level, there was no such thing as her words to denounce the bald eagle. It brings a lot of heat. After the press conference, the president of Tianyu Group openly declared in public that related terms about countering the bald eagle quickly appeared on the hot search lists of major software. Counter sanctions, she really dares to say that. People don't want to buy your stuff in the first place, but now you say you won't sell to them to counter sanctions, isn't it ridiculous? Haha, the mantis is using its arms as a chariot, and it is overestimating its own capabilities. Another group of people are coming soon. Spiritual victory, victory again. Note that Bald Eagle is not sanctioning Tianyu Group, but Tianyu Medical, specifically Tianyu Medical's Water of Life. Now Tianyu Group has implemented counter-sanctions and refuses to export any products to the Western camp headed by Bald Eagle, including carbon-based chips. What do you mean by something that people don't want to buy in the first place? You said that the Bald Eagle doesn't want the black technology of a carbon-based chip that has more than 10 times the performance of current chips of the same level. It's hard to tell whether it's true or not, 10 times. I'm so bragging that I dare to say that the performance of a chip I rubbed with my bare hands is 10,000 times that of chips currently on the market. Yes, and that Water of Life, I think you deserve to be sanctioned. If you don't abide by other people's rules, why don't they sanction you? What rules were not followed? Tell me and I will listen. I read the reason for the sanctions imposed by the Ministry of Commerce on Bald Eagle. They just asked to study whether this thing is harmful, and asked Tianyu Group to explain the principle of water of life, etc., but Tianyu Group refused. This is not sanctioned. Deserve it. Good guy, do you mean that if you want it, I have to give it to you? Why don't you let Tianyu Group give the formula of water of life to your Bald Eagle father? If you ask me, this water of life should be banned in Kyushu. How can there be such a good thing in the world? Only a fool would believe it. At first glance, it looks like a leak cutter. I don't know what the background of Tianyu Group is, haha. If I hadn't seen on your homepage that you forwarded the Tianyu Group's Water of Life lottery, I would have almost believed it. Brother, it's not easy to get some salary if you see through it but don't tell it off. For a time, all kinds of comments were noisy. A hat was also placed on the head of Tianyu Group. There are good and bad hats in this pile. From the perspective of those who love this land, too many companies in Kyushu have been criticized and sanctioned for no reason by the Western camp headed by Bald Eagle when they went overseas in recent years. Previously, those companies could only swallow their anger for the sake of the market, and at most they just protested. Today's wave of Tianyu Group naming the Bald Eagle is undoubtedly a powerful counterattack and greatly boosts morale. Because he doesn't just talk the talk. The counter-sanctions were announced after the release of black technology such as carbon-based chips. Not to mention that the Tianyu Group still holds such good things as the water of life. Anyone with a discerning eye knows that Bald Eagle sanctions the water of life in order to seek greater interests, rather than because it really does not want this miraculous drug. Now Tianyu Group has directly cut off the other party's thoughts. You want to sanction me? Then I won't sell it to you. And for people whose spiritual motherland is on the other side of the ocean. Tianyu Group's remarks are tantamount to violating heavenly rules. How dare you speak so wildly to their father? It's completely treasonous. Now it is natural to think of various ways to attack the Tianyu Group. Those who spread rumors are those who directly criticize, those who make quarrels, or those who pretend to be reasonable and analyze rationally, both openly and covertly. It can be said that he does everything he can. The most disgusting ones are the skewers. Seeing that the majority of people in JoJo support the Tianyu Group, they come out and start touting how awesome the Tianyu Group is from all angles. They boast about everything in the sky and on the earth, which really attracts some people who don't have much opinion and relevant common sense, but wanted the approval of those who supported Tianyu Group. Then this group of people will change their accounts, or ask their companions to intercept these remarks and post them all over the world, thereby attacking the brainlessness of those who support the Tianyu Group. It's almost like a game that just came out recently. Seeing that the quality of the game far exceeded expectations, there was no sudden death. A group of people immediately jumped out, trying to tout this game as the best in the world, demonstrating how awesome it is from all angles, and how it can beat other games of the same type and be unbeatable in the world. People who have never played other games of the same type jumped into the game rashly. They just felt that this game was really fun. And when they heard it said by senior players, they immediately felt that this was simply a wonder in the history of human games, and then they started to praise it. As soon as there were more similar comments, the people who were originally blowing the news changed their accounts at the speed of light, cut off the comments of those who were not familiar with the game and were led by them, and cursed, "This is a brainless monkey critic." This is the current state of the internet. Many times, those who brag with you without any brains may not be your allies. Behind the chaos on the internet, the official response of Bald Eagle, who was named and criticized by Tianyu Group, was not slow and quickly gave relevant responses. In view of Tianyu Group's arrogance and rudeness, after urgent consultations between the Black Palace and the Parliament, they decided to continue to increase the original sanctions, denying all Tianyu Group products to the Bald Eagle, and freezing all Tianyu Group's overseas assets. The sanctions will continue until Tianyu Group publicly apologizes for its previous remarks and discloses the manufacturing principles of the water of life drug and the manufacturing principles of carbon-based chips. This old woman is a bit too disgusting. Su Yi happened to see the live broadcast of the Black Palace spokesperson's speech and couldn't help but complain. Of course, these words had no impact on the Tianyu Group. He simply couldn't bear to see someone being so crazy like him. Then let her die. Yu Ling tilted her head. Is it possible to go so far away? I can't ask you to go there in person. It's unnecessary. Su Yi shook his head. It's no problem for an ordinary person. Yu Ling muttered. As long as you agree, she will die in front of the camera immediately. Is it true? Su Yi's eyes lit up and he said quickly. Wait. As he said that, he took out his mobile phone, randomly found a picture of opening champagne, and then posted it on his personal account with 2 words. What a death. Okay, now you can let her die. It's obviously not that easy to kill someone tens of thousands of kilometers away. Different from the understatement when using blood magic before, Yu Ling took out the staff directly this time, recited a lengthy spell, then finished casting the spell and sat back down. Is this good? Will it be tiring? Su Yi asked with concern. Fortunately, I just killed an ordinary person. It's troublesome because there is no information media about her, but it's not tiring. Yu Ling chuckled. Apparently this was nothing to her. Well, I'm going on vacation tomorrow, don't be too tired now. After Su Yi said that, he looked at the TV again. He wasn't sure how long it would take for Yu Ling's magic to take effect, but there was definitely a delay in this kind of broadcast. But no matter how big the delay is, it will only be less than 1 second at most. After the 2 of them finished talking, Su Yi almost turned to look at the TV. 1 second, the spokesman of the Black Palace, who was arrogant in front of countless reporters, twitched all over the next second, bleeding from 7 holes and fell directly. The surrounding reporters were stunned for a moment, and then became more excited. Just kidding, reporters at the scene of President Bald Eagle's assassination were not afraid of bullets that could be fired at any time. Is there any other disease that I'm afraid of? The spokesperson of the Black Palace suddenly became seriously ill at a press conference. This is big news. At this time, we must get together and take a clear close-up. Surrounded by a large number of reporters, it took the staff and medical team of the Black Palace more than 10 minutes to drag the poor spokesman out for first aid. At the same time, they reacted and shut down all the interview and live broadcast equipment at the scene. But the news has spread like a storm. The sudden news of a serious illness when the spokesperson of the Black Palace announced sanctions and condemned the Tianyu Group instantly became the focus of the world. Together with Tianyu Group, it has become popular on the internet all over the world. A reporter who was close to the scene even publicly stated that the spokesman must have suffered from some kind of acute illness. After the onset of the illness, his condition was very serious and he was definitely dead. Even before the reporters were kicked out, a reporter with some medical knowledge took a look and said that the spokesperson's body temperature had dropped, his limbs were stiff, and his pupils had begun to dilate. It's not that he's dead, he's already dead. This kind of heavyweight news spread to the JoJo network almost instantly. Then those who were interested immediately discovered what Su Yifo was doing. Mr. Su is such a sweetheart, so funny. It's okay to just open the champagne. Isn't this too rude? After all, the dead person is the most important. It's okay. The deceased didn't have any opinions himself, didn't he? Why are we anxious? It's so good, pop the champagne. Wait a minute, haven't you discovered something that is extremely scary to think about? What? Look at the time. The time when Su Dong posted this update does not seem to match the time when the Black Palace spokesperson died during the live broadcast. Brother, there is a time lag in this world. If you are on the other side of the ocean, of course the time will not match. Are you stupid? I just calculated the time incorrectly. The time when Mr. Su posted the update was more than a minute earlier than the time when that person died. As soon as he said this, he immediately attracted the attention of many people. The time difference between Kyushu and Bald Eagle is not a secret. The spokesperson of Kuromia died during the live broadcast, and there was no suspense at all about the time of death. Combined with the time of Su Yifa's post and a simple calculation, many people were surprised to find that Su Yifa's post was actually 1 minute earlier than the time when the spokesperson of the Black Palace died. This isn't right. Coincidence. It should be a coincidence. Chao Jifei, how can there be such a coincidence in the world? How else to explain it if it's not a coincidence? Could it be that Dong Su killed the adult? Hard to say. He couldn't really kill him, could he? How is it possible? This is not an assassination. They were live broadcasting at the time and did not hear the gunfire. The Kuromia even said that he died of acute illness. It's definitely not a shooting. As for whether it was poisoning or something like that, I'm not sure. As for the statement made by the Black Palace, just take a look at it. If you were in charge of the Black Palace and one of your own was killed in your own home, would you say he was killed? Conspiracy theories were prevalent for a while, and Su Yi did this on purpose, so naturally he would not explain it. Not only did he not mean to explain, he also posted a so-called clarification update. Let me clarify the reason why I posted that post. I just encountered a wild dog barking at me while playing a game, and then I kicked the wild dog to death on the roadside. I posted a post to celebrate. As for that Black Palace wild dog, no, the spokesman's death is indeed a good death. As long as I have no morals, you cannot morally kidnap me. As long as I have no quality and you dare to disgust me, I will scold you back. Be decent and considerate of your mother. Su Yi didn't care about this. When you have the ability to change the rules, you don't care who made them. This is true in shopping malls, and it is also true in so-called words and deeds. Not to mention a few insults on the internet, even if he directly said that he killed the spokesperson of the Black Palace, so what? President Bald Eagle just used a nuclear bomb to blow him up. No kidding. Compared with this person's life and death, he continues to affect the interests of the entire Bald Eagle Empire, which is more likely to attract nuclear bombing. But it doesn't matter. Last time, he asked Bailu to help him find some surface interception systems that have been eliminated in their world. Once this batch of goods arrives, any aircraft, missiles or nuclear weapons that can't hit him will be useless. Not surprisingly, his clarification not only failed to clarify, but also caused many people to think that he did it because his words and sentences were too ambiguous. For a time, even those who, after careful and rational analysis, felt that this matter had absolutely nothing to do with Tianyu Group, became a little unconfident. Not to mention them, even the Black Palace side was a little unsure after receiving Su Yi's response. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.